What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast episode 282. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we have a lot of games to talk about today, which I'm kind of excited about because, after all, it kind of feels like games are why we do this anyway. So it's probably a good topic to cover, but I'm looking forward to getting into it. It is Super Bowl Sunday here in the U.S. as well. So we've got 49ers tie, we've got a Chiefs shirt, and you've got Hogue and I looking like we don't give a damn at all. But, here we are. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming out with us today to talk about all these games. I'm going to start with Mr. Rodriguez with the Mahomes, McKinnon, Juju, and I can't see the rest, but someone else is on there. I'm sure Kelsey's
Probably
on there somewhere.
Yeah. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to get rid of Juju. He's gone. He's with the Patriots. He's out of here. Or replace him with Taylor. I got Tony down here. That dude can't catch a ball to save his damn life. In fact, he's not even playing in the Super Bowl. McKinnon, he's questionable. He might not even show up. I have no idea. He's in Vegas, And then I think it's Pacheco and Kelsey are at the bottom. Nobody needs to see that.
Move Pacheco and Kelsey up, get rid of the rest. Yeah, you're good.
I'm not sure why they were thinking here. They were really, really high on Tony for some reason, but yep, got to support the Chiefs because I live vicariously with my fandom through them because I'm a Bears fan, but my wife supports the Chiefs, and happy wife is a happy Dan. So
got it.
What we're going for. K-State lost last night to BYU, and in college basketball, that was a disaster because in 2 weeks I will be up there in Little Manhattan, the Little Apple, watching.
For those that don't know what he's talking about, there's a Manhattan, Kansas.
Manhattan, Kansas.
I'm sure it's just as good, just as worthy as the name.
It's something.
Yeah. they've got
by the way, that is a pet peeve of mine, is places that name their towns after other places, like goddamn Paris, Texas, or whatever. Just I want to die, dude, when I see that stuff. It's like, damn.
Yeah. But I'm actually going to Manhattan in about a month, so I'll be visiting both, and I will give you guys
give us a 1-to-1 comparison.
Yes,
I want to know. I want to see the review. That would actually be a fantastic review.
Yeah,
you'd have to go
as much video as I can.
You'd have to go to the way I would do it is I would go to New York first. I would do all the classic New York things, and then try to do those equivalents in Little Apple. So you go see a Broadway musical, and then go see what musicals do they got there.
Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz, baby.
Is it Wizard of Oz or is it the Wiz?
No,
it's going to be Wizard of Oz.
Kansas.
Not the Wiz.
Not the Wiz in the middle of Kansas.
Are you serious,
no,
dude? Come on, that musical's like 50 years old. Come on.
If you after you've lived here for about a year, you're already sick of introducing yourself to people and people saying we're not in Kansas anymore. I mean, you hear that like anyone who has not lived here.
Well, the Wiz is the Wizard of Oz musical, right? It's just
yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. I heard somebody say, I think yesterday, that if you have been to Kansas or you haven't been to Kansas, you're pretty much the same person. There's no difference really in that whole thing. And he's right. It's 100%.
I can verify that is true.
And on the opposite side of the spectrum is our Bang Bang Tie gang representing today, Mr. Travis Northup himself in San Francisco, ready to rock.
I'm certainly on the spectrum. And I'm excited. McClunky, everyone, happy to be here. San Francisco 49ers. Got to go for the gold, guys. Got to do it. 1994. It's been a long time. Got a good team. I don't know. I'm hopeful. Really, my goal is I would love to see Taylor Swift break up after today. That's my goal, personally. I want to ruin the relationship.
They're getting engaged, man. The NFL is paying for the wedding.
If he wins. And if he doesn't win, then she has to date a 49er. I think that's the rule. I think that's the rule.
Oh wow, you're going medieval at this point.
I think if they lose, the 49ers get prima nocta. I don't know. I'm not. I don't make the rules, guys.
Oh no.
Oh man. Oh my God, we're off and running with this episode. Bring us back to normality in some form.
Oh yes, I'm here to spread managed democracy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's gonna be a good one today. We like I said, we have a lot of games to talk about. So we'll dive into all of those, including the Skull and Bones beta, the Rebirth demo. We've got Suicide Squad, of course, Helldivers 2, Infinite Wealth. You can't talk about Banishers yet, I don't believe, right, Travis? I think that's in a few days
I cannot talk about I mean, yeah, I cannot talk about it until Monday, tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow. Well, figures. Okay, so we will leave Banishers out, but we've got a lot of games to talk about anyway. And then we're going to talk about the chaos that ensued this week with Xbox. It's been covered ad nauseum. So I think really what we want to do is kind of just talk about not necessarily all the details of it, because I think everyone knows those who's been paying any attention, but just about the issue with kind of leaks, rumors, and the impact they can have on a lot of things. So we'll tackle that. And then Luke's in the chat. Shout out to Luke. He reminded me I do need to mention Halo Season 2 is here. We'll talk about that right at the end. But
I forgot about that. I need to watch that.
I did watch the first episode. I haven't watched the second one yet. So
it's not the whole season, right? They're doing like
it's just the first two right now. Okay. Yeah.
I
before
prefer
we do that,
by the way. Do we have opinions on the binge versus weekly release on this panel?
I don't really care either way, to be honest with you.
Okay.
You guys?
I prefer it when it's all available. I tend to wait out seasons. For instance, you say Halo 2's out right now. To me, it's not so much. I would wait until at least the midway point. But I'll probably wait until it's out completely and years past that, because I hated the first season so much.
It's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
I just spilled stuff all over me.
Sorry.
I like the weekly release model because I feel like it lets people talk about the show more, and also you don't get spoilers on the first hour of the season being out, where people are just like, "Oh, I already watched it. Why haven't you kept up?" And you're like, "God damn you!"
It does seem like some people go to the last episode and then
I don't get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's damn weird. Or I found out that people watch shows at like 3 times speed, 5 times speed. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, I finished the show in 2 hours," and you're like, "That's not possible." And then they're like, "Yeah, I got most of it." You're like,
"This reminds me of discussions of like endgame."
All right, dude.
Right? This is like people playing Diablo or other games in the live service genre that rush through a campaign, get to endgame, and then complain about it being empty when they get there.
Yeah,
that's just not the way I experience these things. So even if you throw down a whole season for binging, to me, I'm probably not going to watch more than 2 or 3 at once at best.
Okay.
Yeah. I think people need to wait. I think they don't know what's good for them in this case. Take your medicine, y'all. Watch an episode 1 week at a time, like the rest of us.
So one disappointing piece of news is Bitcast. We're going to have to take another week off next week. So saying that now because Hogue and I are both traveling. We are both away next weekend. So we're just going to hold off on the show. And then the following week, Dan, you are out. So we're probably going to have a guest join me, Hogue, and Travis on that episode in 2 weeks. But just I'll put another note up, of course, next week. But yeah, we will not be here next week. So
boo.
I know.
I won't be able to talk about Banishers until like April. I don't know when we're gonna get that to happen. Dude,
you wrote a review of it, right?
I finished that game like 2 weeks ago. My review is done. It's just been waiting. You know what I mean? So like I'm ready to talk pretty early. Yeah, they got codes out really early. So
I do find it funny how reviewers live on a different time frame than me with respect to this hobby.
It is weird. It's weird to be like, to get nostalgic when a game comes out and you see people posting about playing it and you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember those days." You're like already on some other review and you're like, "That was fun. That was a good time back then."
It's just a different release calendar for you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And of course, we got to shout out Tide with the picks this week. And guys, I don't think we've ever been this handsome, if I'm honest with you.
Oh no, we look great.
Yeah, this is.
Hogue literally looks like Harrison Ford. Like,
if I actually looked like that, well, he looks like a Harrison Ford if he was like a responsible father. I don't know. I don't. That face is a little too kind, a little less roguish. Ains, you look like. I mean, you're pretty close to Harrison Ford, although you're also interchangeable with Ebonthus in this photo. I mean, that is the same face right there. Look at that, dude. Literally,
that is pretty close. You're right.
Yeah.
Dan's doing things to me.
I think it's the glasses they selected for you, Travis. But you look like you might be the villain.
That's what I was gonna say. Actually, I look like the assistant archaeologist at the beginning of the movie that like
who's gonna turn.
Yeah, and then I run away, and I'm for sure gonna get like chopped up by a helicopter. You know, whatever. What do you call this thing? A helicopter blade. And then Dan looks like, the Harrison Ford in the newer movies, the old ones.
I look like
The
Joel
elder.
Osteen, man. I'm not a huge fan.
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, Steve, come
You
on.
kind of do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
What
it.
a weird. Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that like if we actually had real photos of us looking like this, they would for sure be like our dating profile photos because it's hard to beat these, dude. We look like Chads,
Yeah.
one and all. It's pretty good.
We've peaked here, I think.
For sure. Dude, I'll never look like that. Look at those shoulders, man. Look at that, dude. Like that's the physique of a man. I look at people built like that and I'm just like, man, what would I have to do? How many steroids would I have to take to look like
That's
that?
the physique of a man, quote unquote. Travis.
Dude.
We're cutting that. That's the physique of a man. All
That's
right.
the physique of a man.
Ty, thank you so much as always.
Those are great, Tide.
Yeah, they're good ones.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
People were coming in hot this morning with super chats, by the way. Tao hits us with a super chat at 7:46 a.m. So let's go ahead and get these knocked out before we jump into the game conversation because we've got several to get through already.
Damn, Tao. Yeah, what time? 7:40. I was sleeping.
Yeah, I don't think I was awake when that one came in.
Fantastic. With $20. What's up, Bitcaster? Sorry, Ains, Dan, and Hope for last week's question. Dan's rant was needed and prophetic. we need more food question this week. Favorite barbecue style food. Even weird San Francisco stuff included. LOL. Stay hungry.
Mine's an easy one. Burn ends.
Yeah, burn ends.
Is my favorite thing.
I'm going to say like a
burn
pulled
ends.
pork sandwich.
But they're saying style food. Oh, I see what you're saying. That's not a brand, right? You're just talking about the burn ends.
No, just
if you're gonna go like really break it down, I'll just say Kansas City style. But it's more of a mix between everything else. It's kind of like a hodgepodge of different places and a lot of sauce.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I don't eat sauce much, but yeah, burn ends. You guys had them? No?
Yeah, we have them. The barbecue in San Francisco isn't amazing. I think the best barbecue I've had is in Tennessee, probably Nashville,
Memphis.
Some really good barbecue. Memphis has some really good barbecue.
Yeah,
they do.
But yeah, San Francisco, where I think most of our barbecue is probably like it's like a what do you call it? Why am I forgetting the word? But yeah, it's like probably Korean barbecue, something like that. We have a lot of fusions. That's the word.
Like Korean barbecue. That's really
a lot of
good.
Barbecue's also awesome.
We have really good Korean barbecue in San Francisco. So I don't know if that's my favorite, but I think it's the one I have more often. But yeah, I'll take any barbecue. I don't know if I know the genres well enough.
Yeah, I don't think I do. I think the closest I get to this kind of conversation is Chili's. I've had a lot of conversations about Chili's.
I think Dan just lost a few years on his life.
Not the restaurant Chili, the Chili's as a type of food.
Okay.
I thought you meant the peppers. So you're like a bowl of shit, like Hormel. You're like you go that deep.
Well, having discussions about Texas Chili's and other locations Chili's and. I like chili because
chili.
That's a little better.
It has a big variant.
Yeah. All right.
I didn't mean Chili's the restaurant.
Well, I thought I was about to just go in on Chili's the restaurant. I was like, "Yo, what?"
Hoag's like, "Did you know they have baby back ribs?" Like, yeah, I do know. Hoag.
Yeah, he likes that bloomin' onion, bro. He's all about that bloomin' onion.
Oh, that's good stuff. Tal,
I think the bloomin' onion is Outback.
That's Outback.
Is it?
That is
I literally don't even know.
Chili's is I want my baby back, baby back ribs. That's
from The Office. I literally only know that restaurant
from The
because
Office.
It was in an episode of The Office.
You got it
literally done.
Dude, I'm telling you, we don't have like chains here. It's a different world. But yeah, I didn't realize that Chili's and Outback Steakhouse were different places. To be honest with you,
Travis checks in on Mid-America through The Office.
Yeah, I do. Basically, that's basically what I do.
That's in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Is that what you're talking about?
Scranton, yeah.
So the East Coast.
Well, I mean, it's actually in Los Angeles, right? But
that's true. Yeah. It is in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So either coast, not Mid-America, that's for sure. Anyway, moving on. Tao followed up shortly after.
Yeah. Also, with the $5 super chat. Also, Helldivers 2 is fun. Beware of the 380 millimeter orbital blast zone is massive. LOL. Funny experiences with my brothers so far.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I've got a lot to say
dude.
about Helldivers.
yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. But look, I feel your pain with that orbital. I killed myself, Greg Miller, Andy, a whole bunch of people in the demo with that on accident. I killed our whole team. With
On
that orbital
accident,
thing.
he adds.
It was an accident, I swear. I threw it
You
and I was
noticed
like,
how that came in late.
I was like, that's far enough. And then all of a sudden I saw where the bombs were dropping. And I was like, oh, we are for sure in the blast zone, dude. We are gonna die. It was pretty funny. The game's hilarious.
I recommend the
When it
Hell
works.
Bomb.
Nice. Awesome. We'll talk. Yeah, we'll definitely talk more Helldivers too. Tal, thank you so much, man. Always generous. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, and I
Then
saw
we
Tal in
got,
the chat apologizing for the time of day. I don't apologize. We understand
no-
different people are coming in from different times. I just wanted to mention that I was asleep at the time.
Yeah, just watch out because Googleman may take offense.
Yeah.
But another person beat Googleman this morning.
Was it Altark? Cade?
Altark? Cade?
Sure.
Yeah, must be a
$5
character
super
from
chat.
something.
Thank you. Yeah. Is that Keanu Reeves down there? No, okay, anyway. Hogue has to play Turnip Boy robs a bank. It's his duty as a lawyer. Also, I hope at least one of the SG crew has gotten some Brotato playtime in.
I
played a
just
bunch of
installed
Brotato.
it. I have not
Don't
played
even
it.
know what it is. So,
Rotato
Okay.
is a auto shooter Vampire Survivors type game.
yeah.
It's on Game
Yeah,
Pass
not
too.
playing.
So yeah.
It's very silly. And also Turnip Boy Robs a Bank is adorable. And
I've heard it's
I don't
great.
like this. I don't like this escalation for Turnip Boy. He was just committing tax evasion and now he robs
Yes.
a bank.
yeah. But if you play the game, you understand that both of them, he's really in the right. I mean, following the law is, as Fast and Furious teaches us, not always the moral thing to do. There's a big difference between doing the right thing and doing the lawful thing, Hogue.
I have sat on my channel and said what is right is not always legal and what is legal is not
Love
always
that.
right.
Love that. So then maybe give Turnip Boy some slack when he robs a bank, or I don't know what the next one is for Turnip Boy commits manslaughter. I don't know what the sequel's going to be.
Turnip Boy commits genocide. Yeah.
Also, you know what? Manslaughter sounds way worse than the word murder. I feel like we should switch the meanings.
Manslaughter and murder.
Manslaughter sounds like if you kill somebody on purpose, that should be called manslaughter. I feel it sounds way worse to me.
Again, I'm just too trained in legalese, I guess, because it's like no murder means intentional, manslaughter means not.
Yeah, I know that, but why? Those words don't. I don't think they're right. We should switch them. Let's get that working, Hogue. Put that together for me.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I like you went into senior partner parlance
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You work up a memo?
Good. Yeah. I love the vagaries of not under. Yeah. Just can you can make that happen, right?
Take care of that.
Deal. Yeah, for sure.
Altark, I think it is. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And of course, Googleman's here.
Google me with the €5. Thank you, sir. Does anyone remember Cyber City 808? 808? I don't know how to say that.
Wait,
It's one of the forgotten classics that hasn't gotten to Ghost in the Shell levels of fame for some reason.
Oh, no.
Is that
I do
no
not
anime?
remember that. Maybe it's an anime. You know what I remember? Golgo 13.
I do remember Golgo 13. Great game too.
So good.
But
It
no,
had
I
a
have
lot
not
more
heard of that.
beauty in the anime than I expected playing the Nintendo game.
Yeah. Anyone in the chat who remembers this, shout out to Google. Google, always good to see you. Thank you very much. Big shout out as always, Vintage Willow with the 5 season gaming memberships. Thank you,
you, Vintage.
Crazy. Love it. Machine XP.
With the $10. What grinds my gears is when critics, regurgitate Xbox physical dying because Game Pass. There's multiple reasons to choose digital or physical. Must I say more than play anywhere? Love the show, by the way. Thanks, Machine XP.
Yeah, Machine leaves us comments on the channel. I don't know if they're usually here live or not, but definitely leaves us comments on the channel. So thank you very much, Machine. And yes, Xbox, is moving away from physical. It kind of makes sense. They're the first of the big 3, if you will, to kind of go that direction. It's where their tech has been heading for some time.
They tried to do
obviously
it Xbox One generation.
Yeah, I mean, they've been moving that way for a while. I'm sad about it. I know Eric's in the chat. We're sad about it. We're probably the last 2 holding up the flag who are sad about it, but we're trying. you know, yeah, it's nothing can be done about it. It's just that's going to happen. So, by the way, on that note, Infinite Wealth, I tried to get physical, right? I ordered it from Amazon. It was 3 days late. So I went to GameStop or called GameStop and I was like, do you have it for Xbox? No, they didn't send us any. How about PS5? No, they didn't send us any. And I'm like, all right, if I can't even get a physical game from GameStop, what are we doing here? Yeah, so
That's what its investors have wondered for many years.
Yeah,
exactly.
Except for one 6-month period where they were wondering how how they weren't going to succeed. They were like, wow, this is amazing.
Right. Yeah. That's a different topic. Machine, thank you very much. Fat Boy
Horror with the £5. Are you guys in your corners? And he's talking about you two guys. I called the Winchester Pub and they have the pints ready.
Gonna wait for all this to blow over. For those of you who may not live in the fun world, that is a Shaun of the Dead reference. Classic movie, one of the best.
Yeah, good times.
Fat Boy, good to see you, man. Thank you very much. All right, guys, let's get into some game chatter. Where do you want to start? Pick a game.
Doesn't matter.
Pick a game, any game. Can we talk with Hogan Eyes surprise of the week?
Go.
Skull and Bones.
Go. Start with Skull and Bones.
Let's do it. So I'll start with talking about Skull and Bones. I'm reviewing Skull and Bones. Right now, there's an open beta where all of your progress carries over to the main game, and there's very few caps on what you can do aside from you can't get past a certain pirate captain level, which cuts off the ships you can get access to and some of the weapons you can get access to. Quite a lot of them, actually, from what I can tell. But you can do pretty much anything else. I've uncovered the entire map. I have a maxed out ship with the best gear I can currently get. I'm like ready to go into the main game. I've put maybe 25-30 hours into it so far, and I previewed this game 3 times, so I've already previously played maybe 30 hours of this game. Like I played quite a bit, including the end game for like 5 hours, where they just gave me a max level ship and we went and did end game activities. And I really, until this game was playable in a live setting, I was not sure if this game was going to be good or not. Like even though I played so much of it, if you asked me, I'd be like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know if this game is going to be good. I liked some of what I played. I didn't like some of what I played. The end game in particular, I'm kind of nervous about. But I will say, having played the final version and gone through it, I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I kind of went in semi-pessimistic because the last preview I did was Endgame and it left kind of a sour taste in my mouth. But going through it, there's still some weird changes. They got rid of a bunch of dialogue from some of the early versions I played, like the fact that Hogue, you remember that captain you at the very beginning of the game, there's that dead captain that you take the map off of and you go. In the original version of the game I played like 3 months ago, that captain was alive and there's a whole bunch of exposition and talking. You like learn about the world from that guy, and they just killed him off for some reason and got rid of all the exposition, which I still think is weird. There's no real like introduction to the world and what you're doing at that point, which is just bizarre. But yeah, aside from that, like just taking the game for what it is, the story could have potential. I'm not really sure where it's going to go. The combat's great. The build crafting is honestly the goat for me. Like I'm very, very interested in the build crafting, and I'm finding myself kind of I'm bit a little, this game bit me. I want to play more of it. I want to upgrade my ship and explore the map, and that's a really good feeling. So maybe I'm in the honeymoon phase. We'll see if that lasts into the back half of the game, the campaign, and if the end game maybe has improved since I played it in an early preview. But yeah, so far so good. Surprisingly,
is there any core story to the game?
There is. Yeah, it's about it takes place during the birth of capitalism in the Indian Ocean, where there's a bunch of pirates, and you hang out with real pirate John Spurlock, where he tries to mess up the French and the stuff that they're doing, the compagnie. Which is a cool storyline, and I'm interested to see where it goes. It doesn't have a ton of story. Basically, the story is you blow up ships and raid fortresses and do pirate stuff, and in between it, you talk to a famous pirate captain who is known for being like a clever bastard, and that's kind of the whole game so far. So we'll see if it expands beyond that. I will say I've maybe light spoilers. I don't want to spoil anything, but there appears to be more to it than that, because I've got to a second major hub area, and there appears to be a NPC there that is going to be another quest giver, but I don't think it lets you get to that point in the story yet. But I basically floated my ship to a part of the map I'm definitely not supposed to be at, and then was able to procure a bunch of upgrades that are far beyond my level, and I'm kind of understanding that there's more to this game that just isn't in the game yet. But it's interesting, man. It's kind of I mean, it's fun with friends, 3 players running around. You guys all have different builds. You can have one ship that shoots cannonballs that heals each other. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so I dove into this, no pun intended, because of the history of this particular game, and I saw that it had an open beta when I went in to essentially play my Final Fantasy VII demo, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But I popped into this hopeful, but not particularly enthused, and I really like this. And in answer to your question about story, Ains, I don't think there's much here. I view this as lightly sketched in terms of a story / world building. It's basically you want to be the best that ever was in terms of piracy rather than Pokemon, and that's your ultimate drive. So it reminds me of a Sid Meier's Pirates or any of these other kind of privateer type games where your basic thrust and goal is to get better, get a better ship, get more money, whatever that means in the universe. And I like that. This is going to dovetail with my conversation about Helldivers, because one of the things that I talked about last week with Travis was that it didn't sound like it was my kind of game, Helldivers, and I actually quite like Helldivers. And I like a lightly sketched story. It doesn't need to be a novel. It doesn't need to be Final Fantasy. It doesn't need to be something with a codex. If you stick to what your theme is and you build your entire game around that. And so playing Skull and Bones, I thought they went in the right direction. And in fact, Travis, I didn't know that there was extra exposition in prior betas, but that makes a lot of sense to me for what they wound up doing with this story / world, which is this: sketch it as lightly as possible. You're the protagonist. You're whatever you want to be as a pirate captain. And we're really not going to talk a lot about specifics. We're not going to have a specific betrayal. We're not going to have a specific kind of move. The French are out there. They've got loot. If you want to be a better pirate, you better go after them, that kind of thing. And I think that works really well. As a matter of fact, I actually thought for what the game is, the introduction is a little bit overbearing in terms of storytelling. And that one might change even as we get closer to launch. I don't know. But that makes a lot of sense to me that they pared that back. I will say, for a game that is focused like a laser beam on ship combat, that it is a little less impressive than I would have hoped. It's a little less engaging than I would have liked. You basically hold down the left trigger to aim, and then you hit the right trigger to fire your cannons or whatever else you're doing. And there isn't a ton of damage shown on the ship. I really think you could have focused much more closely on putting the resources and money into the development into animating masks coming down or what have you. And for the most part, it's a health bar going down. I do like other aspects of it. I like, the crew boarding, and I like getting the loot. And I like that it's not just a piracy game. It's also a commodities game, which is the best thing to do in these types of games.
So it actually
in my
becomes a
opinion.
full-on trading economy game later on. You get like a separate map where you're like setting up routes and kind of controlling trade and stuff. So it has like kind of a strategy commerce part to it.
I believe it. I mean, and that goes with like the Port Royales of the world. That's fun to be had here. And so you go and you show up at a new village and you figure out what it is that they make, and you can figure out your own trade routes that make sense, or you can plunder those places. And I think there's a lot to like in this particular game. And I think it does have a lot of Ubisoft resources put at it. It feels a little bit like a fully developed Assassin's Creed in some of these places when you're walking around a pirate's den and things like that. And so I think it's going to be successful. I don't know. I don't think Ubisoft knows, really. I don't think this particular game has been tried out there. It's not Sea of Thieves, right? You are not running around doing specific things on your boat. You are pushing the X button to go faster and pushing the circle button to go slower. You're managing crew stamina and things like that. It's much closer to that kind of pirates feeling of being the overall boat than anything else. I like it, but I don't know whether there's a market for it. I'll buy it. I'll play it. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. I have no idea whether it will succeed or not.
What
Nice.
I can tell you, there's always been a ton of interest in this game, which is why we previewed it 3 times at IGN. Like, people seem to care about this game, and maybe that's ironically, or what the morbid curiosity, I guess, is the right phrase for it, because of the development hell it's been through. But I will say this. Ubisoft is not playing around when it comes to the live service, because when we previewed the endgame, they showed us the first 4 seasons of the game, and we got to play one of them all, like pretty much all the content. And then the second one had like a cutscene and a story with it. It's company fighting back by sending some like twin pirate assassins after you. And then they have like the 4th season, which is like you go up against the like whatever the Oriental faction is. They kind of have like a faux Asian faction of pirates or whatever. Which is kind of interesting. So yeah, they've got like a whole bunch of content planned, and they have a full live service team supporting it. So to me, the model is there. If the game strikes a chord with even kind of a minor audience, I think that audience is likely to grow in the same way Sea of Thieves did, because they're clearly putting everything they've got behind supporting it. But that could backfire. Could be nobody picks it up, and then they've invested all this money in future content that we never see, and it goes down in flames. But I hope that doesn't happen, because I'm interested to play more. And Hogue, for your concern about the combat, I will definitely agree. The ship damage and kind of some of the stuff that they do, the ship combat feels a little basic in terms of the like visuals and the mechanics being almost identical to Assassin's Creed. But I think the thing that sets it apart are the almost like MMO mechanics of like role-based ships, and one person shoots torpedoes to apply flooding to the boat to slow it down, and another person blows through the sails with fire damage, and then you've got a healer and a tank, a DPS person, and like that all fits together in a really interesting way. And I think that's what's going to set it apart and sell it, is the kind of, once you get past the I'm just shooting regular cannonballs and start getting into build crafting and all that, I think that has huge potential. I also don't know how that fits into a Hogue player who might be playing a lot of this solo, especially when you get to endgame, and it really, really kind of almost requires you to have like a healer to back you up and a DPS guy and all that. But I'll be interested to see how they handle that, because right now there's not really any mechanics for like creating a pirate faction and like a clan basically, or anything like that. It's kind of just like loose matchmaking, and then you can also bring in friends, but there's no way to organize those friends really in the game. And there's a lot of ecosystem questions I have, and we'll see.
To me, it feels like it has a chance of being that kind of long tail For Honor type success for them.
I hope so.
And you can absolutely feel the money on the screen. Speaking of like the quadruple A quote, right, where they're justifying their price. It doesn't feel like a dumpy game, right? This isn't being cast out to nothing. It's got a lot in it. It's got a lot on the screen. And if you like any of this stuff, if you like piracy and sea shanties and these kinds of things, the Indian Ocean and where they've got you and what you're doing is different enough than the Caribbean that you're used to and things like that, that I think it's fun to explore. And unlike Sea of Thieves, which doesn't really feel real, right? It feels more like a cartoon theme park playground. This one does have those kinds of ports and trade routes and resources that you're gathering and things that are more traditional for an MMO, but that I really like in this context. And I think it's going to be more of a success than some people think. I don't know whether that's going to be good enough for Ubisoft or not. I get worried about, raid mechanics or multiple role mechanics in these kinds of games, because I am not usually playing them that way. But yes, right now I'm definitely hitting a slime with a spear or whatever. So it is very basic. And if it grows from there, I haven't played the end game like Travis has. I think that would be great. I like the notion of it being a little less depthful in terms of narrative in favor of world building and just putting you in that place and letting you go. So I think they've got that down.
There's this really cool mechanic in combat where when you upgrade your ship sufficiently, in addition to getting cannons all the way around the ship like you could kind of do in Assassin's Creed, they also have a middle of the deck ship that basically shoots a mortar. And so you hold like the L1 or LB button, and it places like a circle somewhere on the map which you can move around, and then you can just let go of it and it shoots like a bomb up in the air and then bombards that area. and every ship can get versions of that. So like if you're running a healing ship, you can have that be like a healing bomb that creates like a pool of healing when it goes down, or you can shoot like fire or poison or whatever and kind of do DPS or damage over time in an area. And it's just the mechanics are really getting me right now. I don't know. It makes me want to go all around and upgrade and buy different cannons and buy different schematics and build things, which means that you then have to procure resources, which means you're sailing around and trading items. And the loop just sort of like, at least for me, it's just grabbing me and kind of like making me want to do more stuff because I feel that incentive. I'm just in a really
the
good spot
economy
in
is
the game
good
right now. Yeah, the economy's great.
So you guys comment on a couple other games. Yeah, I think Ubisoft, it's from the way you guys describe it, it sounds like a game that could be one of those that kind of launches a little flatter than expected, but maybe has a long tail, right? And kind of builds an audience, which would be awesome to see. And Ubisoft, to give them credit, I know, they're kind of up and down with us sometimes in terms of the conversation we have about them in various aspects, but they do support their games quite well, right? We see a lot of extra content. Division just got a new season, Division 2, which is years old at this point. For Honor still being supported. Valhalla and AC got tons of updates for years. So if this does have that tail, and to your point, Travis, if they've already kind of designed out the first year of live service, I'm pretty confident that Skull and Bones will have that tail. Rainbow Six Siege is probably the good one.
Yep.
Cheeseworks probably the best example, right? I mean, that game just went nuts. So
Siege and For Honor, I think
yeah.
Ubisoft has the ability to have a sense for when there's a market there, even if it doesn't launch that way. And I
even
wouldn't
if
be
it's not
surprised if
massive,
this doesn't.
right? Like Riders
I wouldn't be
Republic is still getting updates.
That's
I
true.
do like Riders Republic.
Me too.
Yeah, we reviewed it.
We did.
I do think Ubisoft believes in this. I think the reason you saw this go through however many years of development it went through is because there is a belief in this. And you'll see all the Ubisoft company names in the intro. It's like 17 screens long.
It is hilariously long, those opening credits. It's very funny.
Nice.
And I do hope that this succeeds because it feels like something new. It's using a lot of MMO rules and different things to make this game, but it feels like you haven't played this before. And there's somebody in chat asking whether it plays exactly like Black Flag. I have to be honest, Black Flag is old. I don't remember what that played like in terms of ship combat.
Yeah.
This feels like I said, it's you hold the left trigger to target things, you hit the right trigger to launch your cannons, and you use a spyglass to be told what's in people's holds and to identify resources on the coast, which I think they probably could have done a better job of onboarding for me. It took me a while to figure that out, but
yep.
I really do like the game, and it is my second favorite of the kind of full game experiences that I played this week. The first is Helldivers, which we need to talk about.
Noise.
I'm
Before we
going to
do,
tell you real quick. Yeah, I
Go ahead,
bounced
Dan.
off of this in about an hour. This is a no-go for Dan. I
Skull and
wanted to play
Bones?
Sea of Thieves. Yeah, Skull and Bones. It's just, it felt a lot like Black Flag, actually.
It does.
It felt like, it felt like they took and I enjoyed those mechanics in that, and Odyssey especially. That
Odyssey's
was fun,
great.
but that was enough for me. I think this one, when they throw you in, it's just so chaotic right off the bat.
It
It's
is.
just like, oh hey,
The intro's really bad.
Yeah, that's not good. And I played through that, and I don't like the build crafting. Like if it was, I don't know if this was like a strictly co-op online multiplayer kind of thing, I wouldn't like it. I would probably like it less. But with that being said, I think that's kind of more it's vain. It sounds like from what Travis is saying,
It is
especially
that,
in the
yeah.
end game.
It is online. I mean, you can't go offline with it. You have to play in servers with
Right.
people, and that does suck sometimes. Like I get booted a lot, but again, it's not the final live version. I suspect that we will still be getting booted in the final version, but
at least launch week maybe.
Yeah,
this is one of those games that is in the not for me category. So
that's fine. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
totally. I'm excited for you guys.
To be fair, I also would have thought it was not a Hogue game, so I'll take the victory where I can get it, because they really did pare down the story. Although it looks like the seasons have more of a story. I really don't know what this game's strategy is. I'll be honest.
Well, You were going to segue me perfectly. By the way, just before we jump off of Skull and Bones, Alex is reviewing it for us, Travis. So hit him up.
saw.
Maybe able to get some.
I told him he should start playing because the open beta progress carries over, and he did not know that. So he's now hopping on to catch up, which is cool.
So perfect segue. I want to talk about the game I've played all week just to break up this, which is Suicide Squad. Nice. And I know we covered Suicide Squad last week in terms of the some of the not only IGN but more of like the media coverage of Suicide Squad. But I actually want to just talk about the game because I have become hopelessly addicted to this game.
Nice.
It is. I really, really enjoy it, and I'm playing with another group. Well, not in co-op all the time, really, because it's been weird hours for me lately. But we have a clan, an SG clan. There's like 14 people in it, and people playing all the time. And what I really like about it, and I think I said this last week, is it is basically like the Division 2 with a crazy ass, wacky superhero wrapper on it. And I'm at the point now where I've beat the game, and I beat the extra final boss and started the end game loop. And I did my first incursion, which is the end game activity last night. And now seeing kind of the end game loot and builds and synergies. And it is impressive, to say the least, in terms of what they've designed from a loot perspective in a game of this. I did not expect this game. I knew this game had loot, but you know, I'm kind of a loot snob, if you will, with games. I love loot games, looter shooters, Diablo, ARPGs, they're all my types of games. I love that. And this game has surprisingly detailed and impressive loot design, especially in the late game. And I've really, really been enjoying it. And it's funny because the guys who I talk to who are playing it, I have no idea what the sales are like. We covered the media coverage of it last week. But it's like there's a lot of time. Like even Luke, who reviewed it and didn't super enjoy it from a review perspective. He's got over 40 hours in it in a week, and just keeps playing it. And
I saw he said he liked the end game more than he liked the campaign, which is interesting because most of the takes I've seen have been the opposite, where they liked the campaign a lot and then they kind of fell off really quickly and got tired of the end game loop. So I think you're following neither of those camps, right? You liked the campaign and I'm enjoying in the game.
I mean, the campaign's not great, right?
Okay.
I have complaints with the stuff we talked about last week. The enemy variety is lacking. The mission variety is dull. There's aspects of the game that just aren't great, but it has just this oddly addicting gameplay loop. The shooting in it feels good. The characters feel good. The traversal feels good. And then the loot's really well designed, and that creates this environment to just have this easy to play, fun game that you can kind of just jump into and out. And like you can jump in, knock out a mission, get some materials, some loot, and jump out. You know what I mean? It's what the stuff that Hogue likes to say about Diablo is kind of true in a sense here. If you like this game, that you can jump in, play 20 minutes, enjoy yourself, jump out. Right?
I do love Diablo.
And I love Diablo. Yeah, I do the same. Well, I love it.
How's your Seneschal doing, Hogue? How's buddy?
Not great. Infinite Wealth has eaten Diablo's lunch.
Ooh, I love to hear it. We'll talk about that soon.
But yeah, anyway, I don't have to stay on Suicide Squad. But it is surprising how much I've come to love that game, because I bought it thinking I would just kind of goof off, almost like you guys were describing Skull and Bones of, yeah, we'll see what this game is. Could be fun. We'll see, whatever. And I bought it, and it's become my most played game. I have not touched Infinite Wealth since I got addicted to Suicide Squad.
Wow.
I haven't played it once.
That's a wrong bet, but that's okay. We could.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for that, but you know, who knows?
Yeah, I didn't expect
Suicide Squad. I actually like the characters. I like the graphics. I like a lot of what it's doing. I really, really hate some of the design, and that is in particular the kind of missions with a requirement added. We only accept critical hits. We only accept shield harvesting, whatever that might be. Like that just doesn't work with the build crafting, at least as far as I've gotten in the game. And it's needlessly frustrating. And I don't like my experiences when I play those and I pop out and go back to Infinite Wealth. So I don't know whether that goes away or you get past it as you get further on, or I'm in the dirty 30s of Diablo.
Those are related to the side quests as they relate to like the character quests, right? So you have the main campaign, right? And then you have all these character quests, which unlock things within the home base that you can do for your loot, you can do for your build, etc. Again, like Division, right? And yeah, they do require you to do certain things in those builds. Once you get to endgame, and you're doing kind of like the incursions, if you will, it's more like you just, you have to fight a whole bunch of hard stuff, right? So it does kind of get away from that in a bit. I think the goal of that is there are a lot of mechanics in Suicide Squad. There's a lot of different moves, there's a lot of different combos, and there's a lot of different things you can do. Plus, you're doing all that with 4 different characters who have different traversal and abilities as well, and to some degree anyway. So I think that's what they were trying to do is, kind of reiterate all the various functions you have. But I do agree with you, it does get repetitive.
Well, I mean, I hate it. I think the big problem I have is with those characters, right? They're mostly the same character, but I still kind of isolate for the guns they're the best with. And if I'm playing as King Shark and I've got a critical hits only kind of scenario, it's not going to work so well with his sling gun and his hitting things with sharp objects. So I really don't like that it forces me into various other things that I don't want to be doing. And since the characters don't grow together, which I thought was an interesting choice, it winds up being me constantly going backwards to go forwards to get through the game. And I'm not super far in it. I've defeated the first Justice League character and gone on a sojourn to places unknown. But every time I try to play it, it kind of like
turns you
knocks
off.
me out.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, that's perfectly fair. Yeah, but anyway, the only reason I brought it,
this game is, it's really like love it or hate it. It's crazy.
And the only reason I said it's a good segue about Skull and Bones is because I feel, at least anecdotally, like Suicide Squad is in a similar boat in that I can see a similar conversation happening with Skull and Bones, where I see this game's been in development forever. This game is, there's people that are going to refer to Black Flag when talking about it, right? Prior game in the series from the same developer. And it's like, well, they have long-term seasonal content planned out. Let's see if it survives long enough to do that. And these are all the same points being said about Suicide Squad right now, to a T. And, when you finish the game, by the way, and we've seen it online already, but when you finish Suicide Squad, they already show you season 1 with the Joker. And then they tease the next 3 seasons, right? Which could be all the Elseworlds.
The Joker thing cracks me up because canonically, Suicide Squad takes place in the same universe as Arkham, where Joker's not.
It's a different Joker.
I know. Right? It's Joker from a different Joker from a different dimension. Cracks me up. The fact that they were like, "Oh, we'll just different dimension." It's DC.
They've done that in the comics. It's not like Rocksteady made that up.
I know, it just cracks me up that it's like, all right, same universe, but we're gonna have it anyway.
So anyway, so I really enjoyed it.
Unlike Skull and Bones, the story of Suicide Squad is not lightly sketched at all. I do think that particular recipe of almost Arkham level storytelling and multiplayer blandness don't go together particularly well. But I want to play through those story beats because I think they've hit the characters well. I think they've hit the plot points well. You've heard me talk about the fact that I think it's been a little bit unfairly maligned for how the Suicide Squad of all people treats the Justice League. And I think that they handle those characterizations well in the game. And I want to see them, but I don't so much want to play the game to get to them. So I figure that's a problem.
And that will make the different problem really bad. Yeah, make the end game tough to play if you don't want to. Yeah, it's interesting because if
you can't get the end game, you probably won't enjoy it.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. But no, it is interesting. It's like like I said, I don't know what the sales are in the game, but I see the people that are playing and the people who are enjoying it literally can't put it down. Like the time on my friends list of the people playing it is nuts for a game only been out 2 weeks. And then you have other people like Hogue who it's like, played it, didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah, my friends list is kind of the opposite, Ains. Like I'm not seeing a lot of people play it. I saw a lot like the first week and then nothing after that. And to me, it kind of felt like it was going to be like Avengers, where everybody was playing that the first week because the campaign was great, and then people kind of fell off, which is not really what you want from a live service game. But yeah, it's interesting that you're kind of saying the opposite. I'm really interested to get more time in this game. I've only played like what was in the open beta or the closed beta, so I need to play more. I'm just so into Infinite Wealth and Skull and Bones review, and Infinite Wealth has taken all my time.
Infinite Wealth is my primary game. There's no question.
Yeah, so let's move on let's jump to Infinite Wealth. Because I know Dan finished it with 900 hours.
That's right.
Dan, what was
and-
your final hour count on Infinite Wealth?
I never went back and checked my save game. Here's the thing: on the PlayStation home screen, it'll show you real quick, and it said 120 hours. There is no chance. Like so me and my wife I'll be playing the game, and she'll come upstairs, and like I'll just switch over to like my Fire Stick real quick.
Yeah,
and we'll watch.
you'll pause and
Is
send it to
that
the
a
Netflix
metaphor?
or whatever.
Yes. No.
It's an innuendo.
No, we've been watching some good shows lately, So I mean, we found this is just a kind of a side thing. We found it's called Love on the Spectrum, and it is the most adorable show on TV that I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. And I'm rooting for all these people. Just
Is
people.
this a sub story in Infinite Wealth?
No.
Yes,
do you know what Love on the Spectrum is, Zans?
I do.
It's a pretty horrifying premise, but yeah.
It is not a horrifying premise. These people are finding love, Travis. I mean, the fact that you want to discriminate against people with autism and or other, whatever conditions, it's crazy to me.
Discriminate.
Yeah. You think that they're horrible? I'm a huge Abby and David fan. They went to a safari. It was amazing. Spoilers. It was crazy. Like me and my wife loved them.
How did we get here?
I'm just saying.
What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know why
have
he's bringing it
120
up,
hours.
but yeah,
120 hours.
What's going on?
It's 120.
He's telling us he has 120 hours on Love on the Spectrum. That's what he's telling us.
I might have that. Yeah. I haven't watched it that much, but there's probably a good chunk of my infinite wealth that is spent watching that. So I'd have to extrapolate and check everything out. But I
I'm
did
at
finish it.
55 hours or something,
What chapter are you
and game barely feels like it started. So Infinite Wealth is crazy.
What chapter are you in, Hope?
I'm still in chapter 7.
Holy crap! Yeah.
But I have completed Dundoko Island.
Like all the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Finished Dundoko Island.
5 stars.
I did that too.
5 stars.
I did that too.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Made hundreds of thousands of bucks in real dollars.
Yeah,
that's right.
The conversion rate's not as good as I thought it would be, but
I had $400,000 for a moment, and I spent it in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Whoa.
That is,
really?
The economy is not great in this game.
I think it's fantastic.
What did you?
I think the economy is great. There's a lot of dollar sinks. There's a lot of things to spend money on, and it always feels like you're progressing.
Yeah. No, I mean, but you get to a point where even then, at the end of the game, I had. This is going into there's I think 14 chapters or something. I got to where it's like it gives you the warning, hey, this is your point of no return or whatever. And so I'm like, well, I gotta go spend all this money. I gotta go upgrade everything and do everything. And I didn't have very much left when I was done with it. And I did the 5-star Dundoko Island. It was mostly just cabaret shops and coffee shops. That was pretty much my whole thing.
Sleaziest Dundoko Island
it's
ever?
the most sleazy Dundoko Island you've ever seen. It was pretty bad, but I had some, pretty nice customers.
We built that giant, what is it? Traditional Japanese building that's like the size of a planet. Yeah, that's that'll really class up the joint. I love how much the game loves Japanese things. Like they're just like, oh yeah, you can have this like sleazy house, or you could have a Japanese house, which is the most expensive, most brilliant, most just like so.
I don't know what y'all are
funny.
talking about. I just have statues of Ichiban everywhere. Everywhere.
That's awesome too. Yep, I do have a gold Kiru statue in several places that I got. That part of that game took me by surprise because I really thought I would hate it, and at first I really did. It was the one where my wife came in and it's like, "What are you doing? Why are you smashing all these trees and rocks?" She's like, "This is the game that you just bought for $100+ I was like, "Yes, this is." I'm not proud of it, but this is where we're at, and I got through it. Got my 5 stars. I think it when I say the economy isn't great, the amount you have to invest and the amount of time that you have to invest doesn't seem worth it to me on that island. Once you get to 5, it's a little bit better. But man, getting to that point was not great. But
Getting to 5 stars, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
you didn't like
Dondoko Island,
like
so I will
the
not
game.
hear any blasphemy here. But that's
Yeah,
fine.
I like those
It was
types of
fun.
games. If you don't like
Yeah.
Animal Crossing, you're probably going to be annoyed with it
Right.
for a while. But once you get it set up, and then it's kind of passive income for funding the rest of the adventure in your game. I'm
It's
I'm
not
with
really
Hogue on
passive
the.
though, because you
It
have to
is.
still go back.
Well, you go run the tours.
Yeah, you
You
gotta
go
run the
back,
tours
you
for 3
select
days.
who's there, and then you leave them there, and they have a good time, and then you come
You're
back
not
to collect the money.
personally greeting them and giving them gifts every day.
I did that when
am.
I was on the island, but now that I'm gone, no, I'm not going back. I'm just gonna collect that passive income, dude. Right off into
I
the
just want to know
distance.
what the rest of my party was doing when I was on Dondoko Island for 33 days.
Dude, I know that was such a weird. I was like, dude, I turned to D at one point. I was like, do you even remember what the game was like before this? Because I feel like I'm gonna go back and remember nothing about what we were doing. Like to me, Kasuga got swept away by a giant sea turtle, and this is just his life now. He was born on Dondoku Island. He's always lived here. He knows no one else. This is just
What's
his
funny
life.
is you're exactly right. I went back to play the game with like the normal combat and going through various things, and it felt like I had been playing a different game. It felt like I had
Yeah.
left. Like, when you go and you leave a game for a little while and you come back, and you're like, what are the buttons? How do these mechanics work? It felt like that, even though I never stopped playing Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
And
It's totally
it's
different.
just
man.
such a fantastic game.
Yeah, I was like, who is Akane-san? I feel like is she the one that wears the big furry red mascot outfit? Because I can't remember who that is. All I know is Dondoku Island. Yeah.
It's very like
I love how he shouts it when he goes near them. You just hear him shout the name of the.
I like the dialogue for Michio, which is like, oh, it's so hot in this costume.
Yeah. Can I say something for Infinite Wealth this is one of the areas that I'm just so bothered by it, which is the so minimum amount of effort into making Hawaii not just Japan is crazy. I mean, it feels like Hawaii in its layout and its visuals, but like you'll talk to some like surfer dude and like the dialogue for him will be like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? And then as soon as you leave, he'll be like, arigatou gozaimashita. You'd be like, what the did he just, why is he just speaking in like a completely
the language
different
stuff? You definitely have to give the
stuff
language stuff away, because it's like, well, when we hear English, we're all speaking Japanese. So that means everybody that Ichiban talks to is fluent in Japanese at all times. And it doesn't
what
really
are you
work.
what are you guys playing? Are you like, what are your settings, I guess?
I'm playing on English because it takes place in America, and I feel like that makes more sense. It's less of like, it's weird to see like a surfer dude and he's like speaking fluent Japanese, like it's just weird, dude. And so I'm playing in English and I'm having a really good time, but I feel the localization is great, by the way, which was true with the first Like a Dragon game as well. But every once in a while you'll talk to somebody, and I know canonically, Hogue, you're right, they're speaking Japanese, but like I kind of, in my mind, my headcanon is that, Ichiban was on that plane reading an English manual, and he now speaks English, and it's fine. I know that that's not what's happening in lore, but it makes sense to me because you guys have been to Hawaii, right? Like it's not.
No,
100 times.
We're not rich like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just live close to it. It's not that far away. It's like I could sail to it. No, that's not real true. But yeah, I mean, we've been there. I've been there a few times. So like, it just I get the vibe of it, but it's just got this layer of like alternate reality. They took over after Pearl Harbor, and it's just part of Japan now. I don't know what it's like. It just feels so weird to me.
He's right. He's right. It's not like that. Yeah. It's kind of odd. In fact, I was on Mikel Casanova's podcast a few weeks ago, who is a Hawaiian content creator, and he said basically where they modeled it is like a mile from where he lives. So to Travis's point, and I've been to Hawaii multiple times too, Travis is exactly right. It like looks and sounds like it at times, and all of a sudden it goes right back to Yakuza, kind of like Japan, and you're like, wait, what?
What?
It's very it's very odd.
Should we go to Hawaii together? Should we set up a Bitcast goes to Hawaii? Dude, Bitcast goes tropical. I love the sound of that. I mean, come on, guys. I'll wear Hawaiian shirt.
Bitcast is going to need infinite wealth.
Yeah. Let's go, guys. Oh, come on.
So the
can we get you to Hawaii to record an outdoor Hawaiian episode? I'll surf. If we go to Hawaii, I will surf. I haven't
No.
served in years, but I'm gonna take up the mantle again. What do you
I
guys
don't
say?
get in the water. So
Well, back to the subject at hand. I
Yeah.
do think that the language is a small barrier because you do watch these scenes and you kind of get this notion that Ichiban is finding the people that speak Japanese, and you get that in a lot of the cutscenes. But then there'll be like a side conversation between two cops or something, and you're like, that has to be in English. At least give it the brackets, for God's
So-
sake.
So in Japanese, some of like when they yell at you, like these groups of thugs or whatever, they'll yell at you in English when you've
Yeah,
got the
it's not a
Japanese
show.
language. No,
I'm very
And-
familiar.
yeah, it's
Is that how Hawaii is? By the way, you try to walk down the street and you're just random people say, "This isn't a show."
Okay.
yeah. Hey,
That-
dipshit. You know what I mean? You know that's what
Okay,
you
now
hear.
that part is true. The part where there's a bunch of horrifying humans walking around ready to attack you at any point. I will admit they got that spot on. But the fact that they talk to you in English and then immediately enter a deep Japanese voice as they say goodbye to you is just it's bizarre, dude. It's so weird. It's so weird.
It's
That's
weird.
that's literally my only complaint. Like I love this game so much.
I love it.
It's
Yeah.
so good. It's so
This
good.
is- for me, as for somebody who's played all the games, who is very, very invested in the series, it is the best Yakuza game I ever played, and that's saying a lot because how do I say this? Like it's grindy at times. I'll give you a couple. You know, there are times where it's like, yeah, I really don't want to have to do this right now. It's a little bit grindy. I don't like how do I say this? I don't feel like the main antagonists are as fleshed out as they need to be. Like there's no, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of stakes, as far as like who these people are and how they kind of go. Like there's so many twists and
I don't know.
turns.
I don't know who the antagonists are, by the way. So.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
and I'm
just
not
saying.
going to talk on it.
No, I'm not going to tell you who they are either. But I'm just
Cool.
saying that's just kind of a general. Like towards the end, I'm just like, all right, But when I finished it, like in my mind, I had like this. This is how Yakuza is going to fit. How this game is going to finish. Infinite Wealth. And I had it pretty set. Like this is what my expectations are. They completely subverted my expectations. I was at first like, what are they doing? And then I was like, that was perfect. And so it felt, it's just the best game I've played in several years. I mean,
You said it's like
and
if you had to rate it, you said it was a 10, which
this is a
is
10
like
out of 10
never for you.
I've never even thought that would be possible for somebody like me, because I just never thought a game could be that. Like there's always going to be issues, right? And that's always been my mindset. Well, you can never be a 10. And then, I started kind of coming around to,
10 doesn't mean perfect.
So it doesn't mean perfect. It just means that, like for me, and again, I'm biased because this is one of my favorite series of all time. So it's just like with Spider-Man, but I know that wasn't great. Spider-Man 2,
I heard the story in Spider-Man 2 is amazing.
it's driving me crazy. So it's still Spider-Man, right? So it's still Spider-Man for me. So it's just still a great experience. But yeah, they screwed that up a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I will say, to comfort you, I don't think you can be biased. Really, I mean, I guess some people can put aside faults and just like a game recklessly, but I tend to think that fans mostly do the opposite. I think they do the opposite. I think that if you're a fan, you're more likely to be hard on the thing that you like, and you see that in media when a property with a big fan base goes awry, people tend to get really up in arms about it. So
Halo
exactly. I tend to trust fans quite a bit, not certain fan bases that I just tend to disagree with, but I would trust a Yakuza fan to tell me if a game is good. So I think if you say it's a 10, that to me that means more. And I almost agree with you. I mean, I have probably more issues than you, Dan, with it, but I like the fact that it's overwritten. That one really bothers me, where every time there's a new chapter, they have to spend 15 minutes recapping everything that's already happened and everybody restating their opinions and blah, blah. And you're just like, oh my God, please stop.
Yeah.
But
that's
I
JRPG
think,
land, man. That's
I
all.
know, but you can still be annoyed by it, even if it happens in all of them. You can still say it's a bad thing. I mean, I don't like the overwriting that happens in a lot of these games.
It's a lot of it's also the introducing of new mechanics so late in the game sometimes really kind of bothers me. That's always been an issue with either JRPGs or Yakuza games.
It was true in Like a Dragon for sure.
Yeah,
They were
really
still
bad.
Introducing stuff.
It's like I could have used that here. Like I spent the way I played it. I said last week I'm kind of a completionist. I played trying to upgrade everything really early. Wasted I think a lot of time jumping around trying to get every side mission done as soon as it popped up, as opposed to letting, like, it's always tough when you play that new game, especially a single player game, and you don't know exactly what the flow is supposed to be. And you're kind of like, okay, do I just let this sit for a minute? Do I go over here and do this? Do I focus on the main story? Like the Sujimon stuff, I've kind of blasted through that super fast as soon as I was able to, and that was mostly due to the fact that I could, because I bought the giant digital deluxe version, and it gives you so much like free stuff that you can pretty much
a bizarre amount.
Too much.
An unfair amount that almost breaks some of the mini games. Like,
Yes,
can I say something nice about Naughty Dog as a side to this? Because one of the things that I really love about what they do is they let you turn off the pre-order bonuses or the other bonuses that you have when you're playing through one of these games. Because usually when I'm pre-ordering a game, it's because I'm really excited about it. I want to play it as designed. And I do think they give you so many Sujimon committee members and so many
Dendoku materials
on Dendoku Island.
Those went quick.
You can minimize some of the game that they've built for you. And so I like to turn those off, but I also like to pre-order for other reasons sometimes.
Yeah.
And I wish that they had a button there that said, because what I wound up doing with like the Sujimon was counting how many committee members I had, and then only using committee members when I got them from a Sujimon drop. And like that's silly, I know, but that's the way I play these things. And so what I'd like is for them to have a button that says turn off all my benefits because I want to just play the game you made.
Yeah, it did feel like I was missing a lot of the game. Like if you just use the legendaries and Sujimon and level them up to 50, you just don't need anything else. You just like, all right, these are the best from the very beginning to the end. And yeah, I felt that with a couple of the things where I was just like, man, this feels like a kind of absurd advantage.
It's funny you guys say that, because that's why I bought the regular edition. It's because I looked through all the bonuses and I'm like, I'm like you guys, I don't like giving me half of the stuff to help me progress the game. Just let me play the game.
Yeah, I don't like it either, but I did need New Game Plus.
I know that's
the crazy thing. Literally, that's what sold me, because I'm not gonna not play New Game Plus, especially since like I got all the achievements in the first game, and I kind of assume I'm gonna do that with this one. And there's achievements locked behind New Game Plus. There's just a lot of like, it is the weirdest decision I've seen. I know it's not part of the game, but I almost wish that somebody would write an op-ed about just that practice, because it's just
I've never seen it before.
I've never seen it.
I don't think I've seen that before either. And the only reason I didn't is because of time. I know I'm never gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have trouble finishing the game to begin with, even though I will, because I love Like a Dragon. But there's no way I'm playing it twice. So
what's funny is you can play Infinite Wealth like I did yesterday, and play it for hours and hours and hours, and choose not to progress the story, the plot at all.
Of course.
Right. So I did.
I think I'm still.
I did Dendoku Island.
Yeah.
I did Dendoku Island. I did a sector run in the dungeon, and then I said, I really should go to one of those pink dots at some point, and then ran through some plot line. But like, you can play it for as long as you want. I think in terms of your kind of question, Dan, and maybe they could do this better in terms of directing you. I think because they do open up things as you go through the storyline, that the right pace for this game, certainly for me, but I think in general, is to drive through the plot maybe more than you usually would if you're a completionist tendencies and you want to hit all the side quests. Because for the most part, they're going to stay there. And you want to open up the island and the Suji League and all these various things that keep opening up as you play through the game. And so that's what I found to be the right pattern for Infinite Wealth, is to kind of drive the plot a little bit more than you might otherwise do. But they don't tell you that anywhere. And you don't know what they're going to open up. So I do agree with you that you can feel a little bit like, I want to get these things, and other games will take these side quests away from me. So I'm
Yakuza
conditioned.
Has done that in the past.
I'm conditioned to go and hit those dialogue bubbles where I see them. And I, for the most part, have had a good time with Infinite Wealth. playing in my geography. Where am I standing right now? What's kind of in the inner circle of what I can hit, and then moving on with the pink dot.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's frustrating a little bit, but at the same time, the story really carries it. It does an amazing job. I'm kind of used to that at this point with RGG. They always seem to outdo themselves. Yeah, I got a lot of trust for them, and I can't complain. And they've done it again, and I'm gonna try to play some more on New Game Plus. I started to play through real quick. I realized that I shouldn't have put it on normal difficulty because I mean it doesn't. They start you back out at level 1.
I'm going straight to Legend,
but yeah, you got to play it at hard difficulty. The enemies are at level 1 on normal difficulty, so it's just I look at them funny and they fall down. That's basically what
I'm gonna go to Legend straight away, and I'm hoping that'll unlock all the other achievements. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and change that because it was not fun. It's not fun. I mean, I don't know.
Do they let you do the LT thing where you just you kill them all in one swing, or do they
not right off the bat? Because it's all tutorial right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I'm sure once you get to that point, you'll probably be able to the smackdown where you just
smackdown
left trigger.
That's a great feature, by the way. I don't think
feature.
that was in the original Like a Dragon. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, dude, that is exactly what the first one needed. If it's you just meet some trash mobs and you're like, get the fuck out of here, you're done.
It's perfect.
Wait, the tutorials are in New Game Plus?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could shut them off. I never looked, but they immediately started.
No, that's bad. That shouldn't happen.
It popped up. Yeah. It's like, hey,
especially if they're charging for it separately. I feel like there should be some improvements to like skip entire cutscenes. I know you still have to skip each line of dialogue rather than the cutscene as a whole and stuff like that.
Some cutscenes, and you can do that just hitting. You just pause the game and they'll give you the option. But
there's no specific features to New Game Plus though, which is it's basically just
not that I've seen so far. No. So, but it's still, I mean, it's gonna be tough. I mean, good luck to every other game coming out this year because this one. Pretty much, I mean,
we did have a very good demo this week that seems to be taking the infinite wealth path towards making JRPGs. If you guys haven't played it, the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo came out this week, and look, this is made for me, right? Final Fantasy VII is one of my formative games. The Final Fantasy VII Remake project is fantastic, and I love what they've done with the battle system and the graphics and everything else. I may not fully agree with what they've done with the plot, but I've metabolized it over the course of the last 5 years. And so when Kotaku comes out with an article that says Rebirth might be a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, and I say, yeah, where you been, dog?
Yeah, it's been a sequel forever.
It's been a sequel since the project started. We only found out about it when Remake released, but yes, it's not a remake of the Final Fantasy VII narrative. And so Rebirth seems to be the infinite wealth of the Final Fantasy universe. Like they have mini games everywhere. They have these progress points
is
that
it
are
still
even
a crevice crawler?
It has crevices.
Nice. Okay, crevice crawler. Nice.
It's it's an action adventure with a turn-based informed action system that then has the plot of a Final Fantasy. It's a weird project that I love to death. That's made for me. And now it's got piano practice to go through, and it's got mini games aplenty. There was a state of play last week that when the demo launched that showed it's got, 500 mini games or something like that. That really does feel like infinite wealth and how to make a JRPG in an era of video games that is informed by open world game design. And where Final Fantasy 15 failed at that, because it just was kind of bland in the way that it had quests pop up on the map, this seems to be more along the lines of having that infinite wealth, systems upon systems that all feed into building the character and progressing you through the story. And if that winds up being what is delivered, I think Infinite Wealth and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will mark the start of a new generation for JRPGs, and it's one that I could not be more excited about.
Now, let me ask you this, Hogue. Do you think that this is just not the same story, or kind of like a alternate universe Final Fantasy VII?
I can
explain. My best guess is that Sephiroth has come back from the future where he lost and is correcting the past to make his vision a reality.
There actually is a canonical answer to this, which is that after Final Fantasy VII, the events of that, something happens that basically changes the timeline. I think it was in a movie. There's like a movie that takes place after Final Fantasy VII, and basically that resets the timeline. And as you guys know, changes something big that happens in Remake. But Remake was always a sequel, and if you're like deep in the paint, like over a shout out to Iron Lord's podcast.
You said sequel to like Final Fantasy VII. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's a
Yes.
sequel to Final Fantasy VII. Remake has always been a sequel, and then Rebirth, which part of the problem I have with this game is actually that I think the marketing is kind of misleading. It's a little, they named it Remake, and it kind of isn't. It's kind of a sequel, and they sold it to people as, hey, we're making the same game, but you're not, and you're also selling it in 3 parts. And there's just a lot of like, I kind of feel like the marketing here got a little out of pocket, and it has a lot of people confused, but it is a proper sequel, essentially. I mean, the events of Remake can't happen without the events that happen immediately following Final Fantasy VII, and this basically picks up on that, and people are saying like, oh, it's a reinterpretation. It's not. It is. It is.
The world exists, right? I mean, it's a weird project. The world of Final Fantasy VII that you'd explored in the original Final Fantasy VII is the world that you're going to be in Rebirth. But
the events couldn't happen without Final Fantasy VII, which means sequentially it is a sequel. But I get why they're marketing it the way they're doing it. It just feels to me like it's caused quite a bit of confusion in the market, which I don't know if it's a good idea.
They clearly took advantage of Final Fantasy VII fans by naming it Remake and doing what they did in the first game. That's one of the things I objected to the most out of the project. But it's clear that what they wanted to do was reimagine their Final Fantasy VII world. And I think Rebirth is ultimately going to be, it's intended to be, for fans of the Final Fantasy VII game, a kind of signal as to what might happen in this game. I actually think that they're going to subvert that expectation, but we'll see. And I think that the demo that we played is fantastic. It takes some of the changes that they made to the partner system in their intermission DLC that used the Yuffie character, and they introduce it to, in the case of the demo, Sephiroth and Cloud fighting together. And I think it's really going to work well for the progress that they're going to make in Rebirth, to have these different character groups have these synergy powers, where that didn't exist in the original Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I think it's just it's that combination that you see in Infinite Wealth of like Persona plus Final Fantasy storytelling plus this battle system that, in my opinion, is better than Final Fantasy 16's. And I think it's going to be great.
A couple guys have mentioned Advent Children plays in.
That's the movie.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
There's all sorts of stuff that gets added to the Final Fantasy VII lore in the years that follow it.
Yeah.
I don't love all of it. I don't love some of the Zack stuff. I don't love some of the stuff that they had in even the Yuffie DLC. It's clear that they consider it all to be, real canon, whatever you want to describe it as. And some of it is better than others. And so I think they do run the risk of kind of polluting the purity of the Final Fantasy VII story, which wasn't perfect in and of itself, with some of the add-on stuff. And it'll be interesting to see how they incorporate all those things. But the actual game that we get in this demo, which is the Nibelheim incident, if you know Final Fantasy VII, is just really, really well done. This is some of the most impactful stuff in the Final Fantasy VII story that they released as a demo. And I couldn't be happier with it.
Good. That's good. Yep. I mean, I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum in terms of interest in this, which is fine. But I'm glad that for people like you, and I know Bizzle's in the chat, shout out to Bizzle and others who love Final Fantasy VII. I'm glad that it's getting such high praise. That's cool.
I'm gonna have to go back and play Remake. God dang.
I'm less.
Did you not play Remake?
I did. I played it and Yuffie's DLC. I just don't remember any of it.
If you get the demo, they have a story so far button that is actually a very revealing kind of video as to what even they were aimed at with Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I
did see that, so I didn't click on it. I'll do that maybe. That might be easier. Save me some time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Travis.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm less enthused about the remake slash Rebirth thing. I mean, I have not played the demo for Rebirth, but I don't know, some of the changes, whether it's like the really convoluted story, given that this is a sequel to Final Fantasy VII, and you kind of have to know and remember the first one to understand why the changes are significant in this one. But the the change, I mean, there's some stuff I really love. I think the combat system's cool. I like a straight turn-based system, but the hybrid model works well enough. The crevice crawler stuff kind of bothers me. I mean, I know that that's the thing to do now if you want people to take your story seriously, is throw them in a crevice and make them squeeze through cracks for as long as possible. But yeah, it just, some of the stuff I'm going to play a Rebirth, but I'm not as enthusiastic about that prospect as I think the rest of the world is. But I don't know. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy, so I'm just
come on.
I'm happy to be back in
That's
this
the
world.
worst take ever. That's all right.
Oh god,
it's
he
not.
said a lot of bad
Final Fantasy
takes.
VII is
but,
awesome,
man.
dude.
That's not the worst take ever. It's probably my
Come
third or fourth favorite.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. That's a normal take.
That's a normal.
I think you guys are being old.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind.
I
Final
can't
Fantasy
help
VII,
that, Travis.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do
Nothing you
something
can do.
about that, and somebody's got to do something. Final Fantasy VII came out when I was, I think, in middle school. I might have been even younger than that.
No, I
but
think
yeah, it's
I think
really
that's a big
formative game.
reason
Yeah.
why Final Fantasy VII stands up for so many is because PlayStation 1 era, when that fan base were children, that's the one that hit for them, right? Which is
Yeah.
why I think 2 and 3 in the US and 4 and 6 for people like Hogue, me, Dan, others. Same reason.
Yeah.
It's just a different era.
Yeah, it was really formative for me, and also I
6 is better,
tend to I slant toward sci-fi over fantasy quite a bit. So
It's
yeah,
not final sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've played Final Fantasy VII, you know that's not sci-fi either. But
That's
it's,
true.
it is at best a space. This can't be a space opera. I don't know what you call it. A techno opera.
I mean, it follows from 6. 6 is steampunk. And 7 is, what does that look like if we upgrade its technology a little bit?
Fair. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know Bizzle. I know FF7's your favorite. Let's catch a couple of these super chats. I've been sitting for a while.
Butterball 8, the $2 super chat. We need a new Sid Meier's Pirates. Not going to argue with you. We sure do. Let's do it.
That's one.
I mean,
that's
this is as
one of
close
those
as
I
we're
see
gonna
a
get,
lot.
to be honest.
Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones is pretty close. Yeah.
Nice. Butterball, by the way, Dan said they are in Olathe. So
Nice.
Oh, wait, oh yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go get some food. I'm always up for meeting people.
let's go get food.
I don't care.
Butterball,
Yeah.
thank you.
And Don Lineart with the $5. Good morning, Bitcast. Missed you all last week. No more weeks off.
For shame.
Please and thank you. Rebirth.
He's going to be really disappointed next weekend.
Yeah, he is. Relink is pretty good. Judgment Platinum. Oh, nice, dude. That's
Damn,
awesome.
good for you.
That is
Relink,
awesome. Man, up
yes.
to you.
Alex really liked Relink as a JRPG. Yep.
I need to play it.
He said it's very weebish.
You have my attention.
Don followed up with another.
Yeah, glad you all love Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Now get the platinum. I'm gonna work on it.
I'm doing it.
I gotta
I'm going
figure
all
out
the
what
way.
the
I'm
hell it
going the
is.
distance, baby. Yeah.
I
I don't
know.
have
gotta get
platinums on my
trophy.
Xbox, but hey.
I'm also playing on Xbox, but whatever I think they're called completions. There is a tracker for it. It's not as surfaced as platinum trophies. I wish it were. But I mean, I'm not really that into achievements. But for Like a Dragon, I will go out of my way
Achievements and
for them.
trophies don't matter.
Yeah, they don't matter to me, but it's for games that I really love, and I'm just looking for more excuses to play them. Really, that's when I start to go after them. Yeah,
Fair enough. All right, we are caught up on that. There are more games because you guys haven't even talked about. Well, you did briefly.
I
Helldivers
keep
2.
trying to bring up Helldivers.
yeah. Let's talk about it.
So
Go on.
Helldivers.
Yeah.
I need to get permission from the host. Hang on, yes. So Helldivers was a game we talked about last week that Travis had played, and Travis said he didn't think it was a Hogue game, and I will admit that it is not a natural fit for what I tend to like, storytelling and narrative, but it's got a lot of world building in it. It's perhaps a
Yes,
little
it does.
goofier than I would like.
Oh, I
And
love the goofy. More
I don't
goofy.
I don't think they quite nail it, right? Because like Starship Troopers works because its weird fascistic state is not fully embraced with the kind of verve that we see in the Helldivers characters. I mean, like jumping out and saying, "Oh, my liberty forsaken arm." It's like it's not a religion. That doesn't work as well as I think that the Starship Troopers take does.
Oh, I think it
But
works.
that all being said, the actual game is great. And I think one of the reasons why it's not gotten some of the negative coverage that it probably deserved to get this weekend, insofar as matchmaking and actually playing in the way that it's intended, it's not a great solo game, is that the actual gameplay is fun and is enjoyable and is better than I had any right to think it would be. And that's why I think it's gotten these positive marks, and why you see things like the concurrent Steam record set for PlayStation games on PC, is that the actual game is enjoyable. The gunplay is heavy, and bits fall off the bugs when you shoot them in a very satisfying way. And the graphics, which are not like individually impressive, I think I said to my brother, this will make poor screenshots, is that kind of graphics where everything comes together in a nice way. It's a enjoyable looking thing to experience, even while you can see that the textures aren't top of the line, the lighting isn't top of the line, that kind of thing. It doesn't look as awful as a Travis favorite, I know, Earth Defense Force, but it doesn't look as great as the top of the line games today. But it all works well. You know, the gameplay is put at the front of the pack, and it is admittedly hilarious when you die or are killing your friends that are trying to help you spread democracy.
That's right.
So Helldivers 2 is a surprise to me, because I was a little bit concerned about the change in perspective, and it works really well. It really puts you in the environments a lot better than the top down. And I think I will be playing it on and off as kind of one of those games that you pop into when you're looking for a different experience for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So my take on the story stuff is different. I adore the goofiness. I adore the, completely irreverent tone that it has, and the way your characters just throw themselves into the grinder as tools for this fascist
Tip of the
state.
spear.
Yeah, it's really funny. I named my ship Emperor of the Constitution, which is awesome. And yeah,
I'm voice of the people. I just embrace it.
Oh, come on, man! This you gotta lay into the world. Voice of the people is too pink. What are you, commie? You gotta get on board, okay? This is managed democracy, Hogue, Emperor of the Constitution.
I have to say, I love the phrase "managed democracy," but it doesn't. Managed democracy is the kind of thing that I think works as a joke in the real world.
Yes.
When we talk about how people describe
in the game, it's too light. Yeah, I agree.
It's too it's too light. It's too controlled. For what tone they went for, which is interesting, because I really liked managed democracy as a joke. But then when they get in there and they say, this is for democracy, and they really have deified the word liberty in a weird way for their jokes.
Yeah. I love that stuff. I wish this is one of those games that I wish there would have been an answer to, like, having characters with names, and having more of kind of I want to engage with the world more than I'm allowed to in Helldivers 2, because I think there's a lot of good comedy bits that could happen there, and we don't really get to see that. It kind of feels shallow. I love the premise, but when you just have troops being like, for democracy, and then that's as far as it goes, you're kind of like, all right, well, I wanted to go a layer deeper, where I'm learning characters' names and kind of figuring out stupid stuff that's going on, and stuff like that. And it's certainly shallow when it comes to the narrative that you're allowed to engage with. That said, the gameplay, the thing I really love about this game is it does stuff that no other action game has done. The having to enter codes and do like cheat code, up, down, left, right type stuff, I absolutely love. I think that's super unique and funny. The required participation of your co-op members to do certain things, like use the rocket launcher, or one of them is loading the ammo in and the other one is shooting, I think is really cool. The way that your character just straight up canonically dies every mission multiple times, it gets replaced by another soldier who's identical, and you just are expected to move on and kind of ignore the fact that you're the prestiging yourself, kind of in a way, which I think is great. There's a lot I really like. The one big criticism I have, and I think it's only going to get worse, is there's really not a lot to do in this game. If you play a dozen hours, you will have seen pretty much everything. There's not a lot of stuff to do except for grind out the new weapons and stuff, cosmetics and stuff like that, which is fun. It's cool to do. But from a gameplay loop perspective, I worry it's a little thin, considering how long it took this game to make and the fact that it's supposed to be a live service game. We do not have a live service roadmap. We know that the developers don't have one, because I asked them about it when I met with them last month, and they said we don't have one. And they're kind of playing it by the ear. They're firing from the hip on this one, which in my experience does not a good live service make. So I'm pretty worried that this one just might burn out really quickly, despite the fact that the foundation is really fun and it's really cool. It's just a question of, no campaign, only 2 factions. Objectives are pretty similar and get repeated pretty quickly. A couple biomes, and then I'm just wondering how long does this last before we're like, are there a lot of reasons to log on and keep doing it? I hope that they have an answer to that. I hope that they've got a faction on deck, but I just don't know. And right now I'm worried it's going to be
it's definitely set up for a third faction.
It is, yeah.
And some of the stuff you find on the planets suggests what that faction might be, and I do think that they could have done a little bit more. Again, I like lightly sketched on this type of stuff. I don't want characters because they're going to probably run a little bit wrong to me in terms of feel based on what they've hit in terms of their tone right now. I would you like to know more videos, probably for the factions and the starts of the wars or what have you, because right now the robots are just over there and they have really cool looking things, but we don't know anything about them. And the way they've got their weeklies or dailies set up is that everybody's fighting the bugs because that's what everybody's aimed at. So there's just randos out there fighting robots, and you don't know exactly why, other than the robots hate managed democracy, I guess. And so I do think you could add little bits and bobs here and there, but I wouldn't want it to be too much. And I hear you getting boring potentially. I'm not the kind of guy that plays these until I get bored by them, right? So I'm only ever popping in probably for a mission or 2 at a time, then doing Infinite Wealth, doing something else, Rebirth, whatever it is at the time of year, and then I'll probably just have that on my bar to play and attract me and do a mission or 2 from time to time. So I'm unlikely to get to that end state of total satiation, but I hear you on it being potentially not enough stuff in there for especially the folks that run right to endgame.
Yeah, I've talked to I haven't played it, but I've talked to quite a few people who have played it and similar complaints. It's like, yeah, this is really fun, and it's going to be done in a week.
Yeah, I know. And 9 years development time. I mean, I get they've come a long way from the top-down days, and the game looks
9 years since they started developing the first one.
No, 9 years since in this game. The Helldivers 1, I mean, that's according to the devs. Helldivers 1 came out, and they basically started working on Helldivers 2 right away, and that was in Helldivers 1 was 2013. I mean, it was a long time ago. It's like a decade ago.
You being serious?
Yeah, it took a really long time.
I didn't realize it was like that.
Yeah, so they've been working on this game for hell long. And that's why I was really surprised when we went there and they didn't have a third faction. Like Hogue said, there's evidence that they might have one, but they were kind of tongue-in-cheek about it when I went there, and were like, yeah, 2 factions that we've announced so far. And I was like, okay, so there's going to be a third one in the game, but it's not there right now. And I'm wondering how close is it? And there's just a lot of, I don't have enough information to really know if this is going to be a real live service game or not. Right. And I feel like this is one of those games where you really need the pipeline for it to be successful because people have short attention spans. But yeah, this
they've
game's
been
in
coy
development
with
for how
you,
long?
because the third one seems like it could be a plot-based edition.
Yes.
So
they
I mean,
they gave me the answer of there's no story, and that one seemed pretty like straightforward. Like they were like, "No, we're not going to add a story." But then when I asked about factions, they kind of gave a coy answer, which was like, right now there's only 2 factions in the game, and I was like, all right, I get it. You're not telling me the full story. But my takeaway from that was the game is going to launch with 3 factions. That was kind of my thought, and the fact that it's not there right now makes me think, well, either they have it and they're just like waiting for season 1. It's a new faction, whole new game, which would be crazy, or they don't have it yet, and we're kind of just, we don't really have a timeline on when it's going to be added. And my worry is that the game won't last that long. And I just, I get nervous about these games because I see a really good foundation. Like, what was that dodgeball game? Knockout City, right? You see a great foundation, and then you immediately kind of see the writing on the wall after that of like, I just don't know if they have enough. Their team might not be big enough for this. It took them so long to make the base game. I just have a lot of like concerns that make me think that this might be one of those great games that we don't get to hang around with for very long. And since it's an online only game, that means the game basically dies, which is not good. So yeah,
I guess we'll see.
I'm just worried about it, but I like the game. I like it a lot.
Well, I think it's I know other people have mentioned this, but it is a PlayStation game that launched simultaneously on PC. It obviously broke 100,000 concurrent on Steam, which should be representative of pretty solid sales, right? Because that's just Steam alone. So it's good to see it enjoying early success anyway. As you said, we'll see if it can continue that. Feels like we're having a conversation a lot today.
I was not looking forward to this game at all, and I really enjoy jumping in and playing it. I really enjoy even watching this game when my brother plays it. It's an enjoyable game, and I hope it succeeds. I think it's got a better chance than some, because I do think its core gameplay is enjoyable in a way that some of these other ones are maybe relying on that meta progression a little bit more than this is, which, as Travis suggests, there isn't a lot of progression anyway. But I hope it does succeed. I think there probably is a third faction. I do think that this particular game releasing in the state that it did with its matchmaking was unfortunate. For those that don't know, it didn't work at all for like a day. Then it partially worked yesterday. And I think it's better today based on the notes that I've seen. I haven't obviously played it today, but it is a game that, unlike other multiplayer games where you can kind of get away with, I'm just a guy and I'm going to run around and do things, really doesn't play well solo for a number of reasons. But one of which is because the enemies that you face are really designed to be kind of flanked and worked around in a way that just makes solo almost impossible at any reasonable level of difficulty. So it was tough the first day to be like, oh, I see how this works. I see why this is fun. I am looking forward to playing it with other people, and it just not happening. And the good news is when we did get to play with other people yesterday, even a pug kind of works. It's not this overly strategic game. It's just kind of moderately strategic. So you can play with randoms and have a good time. Hang on to the ones that are good, like you always do when you play these games. Make friends, but it can be an enjoyable experience. And I think it's one of my favorite multiplayer games that I played in a long time.
You know what game is set up well to play solo or in a squad is Suicide Squad. So I'll just say that.
That's funny because squad is in the name. You would think that it's for sure not a solo game.
Well,
I wish the bots would contribute more.
The reason why is because you can use your friends' characters as your 3 companions. It's
which is like, cool.
It's really cool well done. Yeah.
I can't wait for WB to copyright that and then never let anybody else use it and then not use it themselves ever again.
No doubt.
First of all, that would be a patent.
Sorry, patent it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. What's your second of all? You got nothing. You just had a first of all. Good list, Hogue. Good list. First of all, that's not a list.
It's just
second of all, yeah,
it's just a 1 colon.
It's not a list.
That's a patent,
bro. Don't put a 1 if you don't have a 2, my dude. That's my lawyer feedback for you.
That is what my partners used to tell us.
Yeah.
Don't put 1 if you don't
can't make a list with 1 item.
Yeah, that's it's not a list, bro.
I don't know if you guys
Just
saw
a
Matt
grudge.
Piscatella's kind of notes this week. He works, with the MPD group and stuff, talking about live service and stuff. And I thought it was interesting because it's something we've been kind of talking about at a high level for a long time, which is as more of these games kind of come out. We've talked about several already today, right? We've talked about Skull and Bones. We talked about Suicide Squad. We talked about Helldivers now, games that have these long tails depending on player base. And basically what they were pointing out is that, it's not that live service games. There's a really weird article that came out on Game Industry Biz saying the live service moment is over, which is just a ridiculous statement. But they're the most played games in the world by a wide margin. But what Matt was pointing out is that there's like 5 that dominate playtime, right? In Fortnite, Call of Duty, etc. And as we see more and more of these games get released, it's going to be what we've talked about for a while, which is you can only spread your time so thinly among games that are ongoing, right? You can literally only play a handful of them. I'm actually in that boat right now because I'm playing PUBG, playing Halo, I'm playing Suicide Squad now. And each of those things has like these battle passes and Rocket League and weekly things that you have to do. And if you don't keep up with that cadence, you're not unlocking everything that you want to unlock in the game. And so I'm trying to balance my time now. And it's kind of a weird place to be where I'm like, I don't have time for that game over there because I'm going to miss out on X, Y, and Z if I do that. And I think that's only become a bigger problem, right? Like as more and more games get into this vein, you have to pick and choose.
Yeah, the battle pass is great, but you can only have so many games that are going to use that metric for you, right? So right now I play Diablo 4, and something has to subsume that, has to conquer Diablo 4 in order to become my battle pass game, because they're set up to take however much time they take, 80% of the time that they're available, in order to get what you want out of those passes. So I think you could have more survive at once if you kind of drop those requirements a little bit, but it's kind of a macroeconomic problem of who one party making the most money versus the entire industry making the most money, and how you solve that issue. I don't think is going to be easy for the industry to come to terms with, because we haven't had this number of live service games competing for attention before. And I think it's always going to be that case where the industry can only support right now at that level of resources X number of live service games as what we would consider massive successes, and everybody else is going to be trying to crack into that, but it's going to be very difficult to do.
Yeah. So
and it gets more difficult exponentially, right? Like
it gets hard as people solidify.
That is if you assume it is a zero-sum game. And I like to think that, with the industry always growing and new gamers being created all the time who play these sorts of games, that maybe that's not true.
New gamers being created was a funny image, really. In my head right away.
New gamers are born every day. I just think I think there's opportunity for maybe it to not be a zero-sum game, but to your guys' point, personally, if you're already a gamer, it is a zero-sum game for you because you have a finite number of hours, your time. And so I went through exactly what you guys are talking about, like maybe 2 years ago, because I've sort of been on the live service kick for a while now and had a lot there in my pipeline. At a certain point, you kind of just enter this like more zen. You kind of let go of FOMO, and you don't need to get everything on the battle pass, and you realize that that's kind of not really even the point of these games. It's sort of like being on Twitter or reading the news. It's a river, and you can't expect to drink the river. You kind of just have to dip in your cup whenever you're thirsty and take what you can get and then move on, and it'd be okay with some of the water passing you by, because you're just not going to be able to get it all. And since I gave up since I adopted that mentality, I've had a lot better relationship with my live service games, because I can miss some stuff in Destiny, but play most of it, all the important bits, without completely dedicating my life to it. And I can do that with, like, I think right now I'm up to like maybe 15, 16 games I log on to regularly, and I almost never complete battle passes, but I play the one when I want, and I have fun, and I feel like I'm still caught up on it. And I'm caught up on Diablo, and I'm not caught up. I'm not going to get max level character or complete the battle pass on any of these games, but I still feel like I'm a part of the conversation, and I could write about it and I could talk about it. And I would just say that's sort of what I suggest to others who are in this predicament, is you have to kind of view it as a river. You're not going to drink the whole river. It's just not possible. I think that's
but I get why.
Yeah.
I think that's the right philosophy. But I think from an industry perspective, from the business perspective, first of all, most of us are not Ty Guy Travis. I can't run 15 live service games at once in
Very
any
fair.
metric.
Very fair.
But I could maybe run 3 or 4 where I'm most comfortable with 1 or 2. But overall, to the extent that you do that, to the extent that you separate from the hook of the battle pass, I think that's good for a person. But when we're talking about money and live service success, I don't think
Yeah.
that's ultimately what the businesses are looking for. They want to hook
Yeah.
you. They want to be the main game in town. And what these publishers are struggling with is that there can only be so many top dogs.
Yep. Yeah, and it is becoming more competitive, and I ultimately think that's good for the consumer, at least in the short term, when we're not seeing like these companies go under or whatever because of their failures. But I do think you can sell season passes if your game is good. It's just going to be a little bit harder to do that. You're asking for a little bit more. But I think from the player perspective is, you buy season passes for the ones that are your favorite. And when they stop being your favorite, then maybe you skip the passes and you just kind of play when you can. But I think that model works better. But this idea of the Imperial live service game, which is what I call like the Fortnites of the world, I think that's going to go away. I think the idea that there's going to be one live service game that just dominates the conversation for years to come, Destiny, Fortnite, I think that's going to go away, and it's going to be a more kind of give and take, push and pull. I think that's better for players. And I think if players become okay with that, of like not having to get every single box ticked in every game, then it could be healthy. But it is just weird. There's like two things happening. There's the industry still trying to figure out like, how does this work? And are leaders set, or is death inevitable? Is Fortnite going to die off one of these days because people just had enough, or can you keep it going forever? And then on the player side, every player having their own personal journey and relationship with these types of games and how they manage time and all that stuff. And it's really interesting crap. I mean, that's why it's my beat. I love talking about this stuff.
Sard has a good comment here. So she says, my problem with the battle pass system is it feels like the game's trying to make me enjoy it on its schedule, not mine. That to me is the second cardinal sin for a game. First, not being fun. I told her fun has to be in quotes going forward, but thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I get that, and I also hate that, just to be clear. It is unfortunately part of what has to exist in a live service game, because it's sort of like you had to be there because events come in and then leave the game. And I think that is part of the fun of it, is like, oh, did you hear what's going on in Apex Legends this week? What? Oh, they're having some crazy Halloween event. I'll hop in and I'll play it. But it does give a certain amount of FOMO if you don't have time for it. And I totally get that. I love Halo's solution with battle passes of buy any battle pass and play it when you want. But those are specific because they're not the same thing as, hey, there's the storyline going on in Fortnite that you can only play right now. And I don't think there's a way to make that, captured in a bottle for you to open whenever you want. And that, I think that's the problem with it. But I would love to see that for battle passes in general. I think Infinite has the best solution for that, and I wish more live service games would adopt it.
The problem I have in Halo now is, I agree with you, by the way, on the battle passes. So what they also do, weekly ultimates, right? If you finish all the challenges in a week, you get a bonus.
Those are, the pressure is on, dude. You have to play
you have to do it that week. And the challenges are easy. They don't take a lot of time, but the ultimates are missable too, meaning, they're not in the store. You can't get them if you miss them. And they're not normally that great, but the next 4 weeks, they have the helmets for the characters from the Halo show, the 4 Spartans. Well, not Chief, but you know what I mean? The next 3. And they're like having specific things, like more meaningful stuff to Halo lore now as weekly ultimate. So it's like, if you don't play that week, you're missing it.
Yeah. That one really hurt me, the ultimate, because it's not that you have to play a lot or that the challenges are hard, but you have to play enough to really be still invested in Halo to get those weeklies done. Like, you have to play it. It's a non-insignificant amount of time every week. And so I was doing that for like maybe the first month or 2 in Halo Infinite, and then I missed one, and I was like, all right, that's it. Chips fall where they may.
That is what happens to me, is that at some point you get broken, and then it's just the spell is off and you go to the next thing.
Yeah. I think I think hopefully fans will get away from that. I mean, I had to give up completionist playthroughs of games because, and I will say, I was a prisoner to completions, because a certain point, you go for 100%, you're going to start hating the game. If you're like me, you're going to start hating the game at some point. The second I started reviewing as many games as I do, and I physically didn't have time for completionist playthroughs, I like games probably 40% more now. Like just going through a game and just doing the stuff I care about and skipping side content and not caring about getting every marker mapped off on the map. Like that experience makes me like games more.
Dude, it's like like a pressure relief. It
really is, dude. It's like you let go of your ego and begin your spiritual journey when you stop doing completionist runs. It's so I don't know.
I can't remember the last time I did a completionist run for that reason.
Doesn't it feel good though? You like it?
It feels
more.
fantastic, and it not only does it feel better to just enjoy the experience you want to enjoy, but it frees up time to enjoy more experiences. Right? So you're not just like I forget the conversation I was having. This is why I joke about trophies and platinums and stuff, because someone was telling me they liked the game, and then they were like, "But the grind for the platinum, the extra 20 hours was horrible." And I'm like, "Why did you do it? Well, why would you waste tens of hours doing something you didn't enjoy to get a digital trophy that means nothing? It doesn't make any sense."
There's a little
that's
bit
part
of
what
like
some people bought.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like
they bought?
Because the content was in the game, they paid for it. They want to experience it. Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, a 100% run or platinum doesn't. That's another thing I get hung up on. It doesn't mean you 100% at the game, right? It depends how the achievements are designed.
That's true.
There can be lots of things in a game that don't relate to the achievements.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, to some people that really favor the platinum, what they bought was a ticket to get a platinum.
So, okay, that's a different problem.
Yeah, if you made it 30 hours of boredom, they hate that. They resent that you made them go through that as well to get their platinum. This is not me. I'm not.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
There's also a certain level of like, with alcohol, the worse it tastes, the more proud you're supposed to be about having tasted it. And I think sometimes they're like, yeah, dude, I want 100% of this game that has like 2 achievements that require you to basically shoot yourself in the foot for 10 hours. And they're kind of like, yeah, I did it. I put myself through that, got no life, kind of a big deal. And it's like a weird contest of like how much are you willing to go through to prove that you are a real gamer, not a fake.
No, I think at some point we could have an episode entirely on the philosophy of playing games, Haynes, because I agree with you guys.
I agree.
That flow state of just like in Infinite Wealth, I'm gonna see the things that are around me. I'm gonna go to the main plot point because I want to direct this experience, is better than I have to hit everything to make sure I don't miss anything. Like that's just more enjoyable to direct what you want to be doing at that moment in time. But it really was the open world evolution that got me to that point, because when we were growing up, I think you could completionist play games a lot more easily than games are right now.
100%. Oh my God. I completed so many
no
games.
Pun intended.
Nice. Nice.
All right, let's get we got some super chats to get to. Let's get them.
Get them. C-Mold's the name for the $2 super chat. Time for my food, Bitcast. I mean game Bitcast.
We did have a short food segment today. I think that's a weekly occurrence at this point.
What chips and dips you guys got going for the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's
Buffalo
a great question,
baby. Buffalo chicken, and I got a chili cream cheese dip that
I love that.
Cheese.
Chili cream cheese is a good
chili
dip.
cream cheese, yeah, and then like a layer of
Gotcha.
sharp cheddar on top. It's delish.
Jesus,
I've never tried that.
A heart attack.
You got to bake it. You bake it for like 20 minutes. Just super easy. Throw it in a little 8x8 Pyrex. You're good to go. It's delicious.
Nice. Yep. Sadly, I don't think I have any dips for tonight. I have some guac. I have some guac, but that's standard.
Guac is a dip.
Yeah, I have a very this is going to go down a rabbit hole if I let it, and I'm going to try not to, but I have a cheese. I've got a cheese that I got through something called the Cheese Whisperer Network, which is like a secretive
Here we go.
Oh my God.
It's a secret society in San Francisco that tracks rare and delicious cheeses that are really hard to procure because they're only the recipes and methods of making said cheese is only known by a select
I'm sorry,
few.
Gentlemen. A sub quest just popped for me.
I'm sorry, guys. I haven't. So needless to say, I have.
So you're a cheese completionist, is what you're saying.
I have an elite cheese that is extremely hard to procure, and actually was gone from this earth for 10 years, but has resurfaced, and it is one of the best cheeses I've ever tried. And it's going to pair with the Niners victory very well. So I'm sorry for going down that rabbit hole, but if you want to talk my ear off about the Cheese Whisperer Network after this, I will be more than happy to.
I'm not
go down
sorry
the
that
rabbit
we
hole.
learned this piece of
Oh my
information.
God.
Talk your ear off about the Cheese Whisperer Network.
Guys, it is so deep. You guys have no idea. You guys ever get into something where you take a moment to reflect and you go, "Who am I actually?" Like something I got into
All the
last
time.
year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
quite
right?
often.
Yeah, so last year I got into the World Championship Excel games. You know, the competitive people do Microsoft Excel.
Yeah.
competitively.
I'm telling you, my wife would compete in that. Guarantee. She
Oh, I love Cheeseworks is coming in the chat to voice their very own. Don't share our secrets. Yeah,
First
we got
rule
a
of Cheese
snitch on our
Whisperer Club
hands.
is
Yeah, dude. He's like, you a rat, Travis? You trying to sell out my cheese
Oh my
network?
God.
Yeah.
I'm over here with like a block of Velveeta and some Hormel chili.
Oh,
and
no, I didn't know Velveeta came in block form. That's good to know.
Velveeta's
That's
not
all
even cheese.
It's not even real cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cheese-like
It's
and
sludge.
delicious. Yeah.
I
Throw
will-
that in
I
a
will
can of
tell you
Rotel.
I will tell you which cheese I'm eating though. It's like you can't get it anywhere but San Francisco, but it's next level. It's so good. So
It's
that's what I'm
probably
eating.
this big. This little tiny cheese wheel.
Wrong.
And it probably costs like
wrong.
$92.
Wrong. It comes in amoebus blobs wrapped in saran wrap.
How much are they?
It's like maybe $5 to
$42 a
$7 for each like blob of it.
So like an 8-ball of cheese. Is basically
Yeah, no, it kind of does feel like a drug deal, especially the places you have to get it. Like you have to go into certain neighborhoods and secret place and be like, "Do you have the special cheese?" And they're like, "Yeah," and they don't keep it out in public display, because it's so. If you know, you know. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're going down the rabbit hole.
Sujimon League.
I'm really
really
worried
is,
about this.
Yeah.
I love
This is
this
weird.
comment, by the way, not to distract from the cheese conversation, but
So fifth
trading
string.
card games are in a similar state too. Funny enough, says
As
fifth
the live
string.
service thing is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
here. Yes.
And as a board game guy, you can tell I've got my unmatched on my shelf and some various other things. I agree with this entirely. There's games that continuously expand. I have my favorite this last year called Final Girl, and you can only really keep up with so many games that are expanding, whether it's a trading card game, a living card game, these expanding board games, and it does have that same feel as a live service. It's right. I can only keep up with 6 blister packs a week, guys. You guys got to stop it. If there's 6 games that have different things that are expanding, and so board gaming is very similar to video gaming in that way.
Yep. All about revenue at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, I'm a Magic the
Revenue.
Gathering player, begrudgingly. So yeah, I understand that.
Let's see. Simo with another super chat.
Another $5. Appreciate it. Also, sadly, Ravens aren't in, but 49ers for today. Hope they smack the Chiefs so they don't become the Patriots. Listen, people hate us because they ain't us. That's all it is.
I like seeing greatness. I like the Patriots and Tom Brady, but I did not like Travis Kelce during the Ravens game. So
I like
rooting for
seeing
49ers.
established powers brought to their knees, and so I will root for.
Aren't the
49ers.
49ers in 3 straight NFC championships? Like,
Yes, but they also haven't won a Super Bowl since 1994.
true.
So I think we get it. I think we get
All the
also
way
we
back
have
in the
Mr.
90s.
Irrelevant on our team.
Yeah, Hoag's over here like, we haven't been to a Super Bowl in ever.
He's
So,
like, what's a Super Bowl?
Well, just to be clear, I was 4 years old when we won the Super Bowl last. I don't have a memory of us winning the Super Bowl, and I've lived.
You know what's funny about that? Well, maybe it's not funny, but I was 4 years old when the Niners won their first Super Bowl in '82.
Yeah, they were on a hot streak there for a bit.
Well, the '80s were, I mean, yes.
When I was 4 years old, the Lions did not make a Super Bowl, and that has kept up.
Or 5, or 6, or 7, or 8. Yeah. All right, Pampa.
Play more Halo, Ains. Stop crying. The $10 Pampa coming at you. Love him. Love Pampa.
Oh man. You know what's funny about this comment is we actually played PUBG last night. So I didn't play Halo because we were playing PUBG. Same thing. The reason why is because PUBG's pass ends in 3 days and I'm trying to finish it. So same
That can happen.
conversation.
Travis, you're going to get a visitor tonight, according to Cheeseworks. This is fantastic.
I love the idea that Cheeseworks is like a mole inside of our comment section, and he's just like, I'm gonna get double tapped by,
Yeah.
you know.
He only
How
started
would
showing up the
Black Hood.
Bitcast,
Yeah.
recently. He's keeping an eye on you.
How would a cheese secret society person torture a mole? Would they maybe put
Velveeta.
mouse traps on there? I don't know. Is that cheese related? Is that enough?
Get like a cheese board, and
It's an explosive cheese whiz.
Oh yeah, cheese board would be really good. And you put your hand on the board, and he's like, oh. he uses a really hard cheese to whack you. I don't know.
Or maybe you get like the Yakuza on the cheese board where they cut off your finger.
Yeah, with a really
folks,
sharp cheese. Yeah.
Where else are you going to get commentary like this?
Indeed.
I love how he says we're not going down the rabbit hole and he won't stop talking about it.
That's my fault. That was my fault. That one.
Well, I'm trying to move on. He just keeps talking about cheese.
Not my fault. Okay.
It is your fault. You brought it up again.
No, I didn't. Hogue did, or Dan pointed out the
Well, we know Dan's going to bring up cheese. That's a given. Be the bigger man.
Sorry, I can't. I'm just on a cheese kick right now. Okay, I'm all hyped up about this cheese I'm about to eat later.
Bob followed up.
Yeah, trophies and achievements are awful. Play the game. Yes.
I play the game, but I think they can be nice additions. They just shouldn't be what you focus your gameplay on. They're icing. They're not the cake.
No, fair enough.
I don't have very many like platinum or 1,000 out of 1,000.
I don't either.
I could, I think the Spider-Man
I put
games
thousands hours into singular games. You know what I mean? So you're not getting achievements for that. So, Pompa, thanks, man. Appreciate you, Drury.
With the gifted 1 year or 1 season gaming membership in 1 year.
1 year. Wow. Yeah. Thank you,
1
Drury.
year. No.
Gifts and membership on like nearly every show. Was Evening Cast Go up on Thursday. Gifted a membership. So thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Appreciate you. Remember comment?
Julia 543.
Every time I see Julia 543, I think she's a Spartan.
Yeah, I did too. First thing popped in my head. Thanks, guys. I enjoy Bitcast whenever I'm here. I didn't realize there's a rivalry of teams until today. Thanks again, Hope, for that tweet.
Of course.
Julia, what did you do with the other 542 Julias? Where are they? We demand to know what happened.
It's great. And Shoosh.
Dark Urge report. I've met Gale, and now I can use Mage's Hand. Fantastic.
Yes, indeed you can.
That's an innuendo, by the way.
Oh, from Baldur's Gate. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was very confused for a second.
What are you using that Mage's Hand for?
Well, see, really Mage's Hand is both a spell, but also an inventory item that you can have if you have the Dark Urge and meet Gale.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, if you rip off his... Yeah, that's
cool.
Pretty messed up.
All right.
Good game.
Yeah,
they're adding better kisses. Did you see that update?
Better kisses.
I would say that is, slightly sarcastic. However,
it is not sarcastic. They're adding better kisses.
Baldur's Gate Twitter, I've never seen any group of people be so excited about the kissing animations in a game.
They are thirsty boys and girls that
you are seeing a piece of the dating sim community, Dan, who are invading Baldur's Gate a fair bit. And let me tell you, you're getting off easy. All right.
And you would think they're adding like a DLC, but
they did in Mass Effect. There was a dating sim DLC, one of the Citadel, dude. It was basically a dating sim.
The way people are reacting is just like, wow, man. This is the last thing I ever thought about.
I don't know if you're following your calendars, but I'm betting that drops on Valentine's Day.
It 100% does.
A couple days, yeah. It's funny. I had a buddy, and this buddy does not follow games like hardly at all. So he was looking for something in Game Pass. He's like, "Is Pillars of Eternity any good?" And I was like, "It's a deep game, big RPG, but excellent.
Love that,
you can check it out." Yeah. And so he starts playing. And he's like, "This might be too much for me." I was like, "Well, I told you it's intense." But anyway, stuck with it, finished it, loved it. I get a random text last night. "This Baldur's Gate 3 game, is that any good?" And I'm like, "You just finished Pillars of Eternity 2?" I was like, yeah, you probably will like it. Yeah. So
I think it's
fun.
more
I love
accessible
this game.
than Pillars of Eternity. But
Oh, 100%. But
Yeah.
Pillars of Eternity, you get something I think you don't really get from Baldur's Gate because
Yes.
it's a bespoke universe made to tell that story, and it tells a damn good story. And I don't think Baldur's Gate can really say that.
All right, boys. Well, we have talked games this whole time. I think that's the longest we've ever just talked
I
games.
love that.
Hours.
I love that.
Any other game you want to mention before we touch on the Xbox Chaos?
I haven't played anything else.
Foam Stars.
Foam
Oh
Stars.
yeah, he doesn't like it.
Didn't
You
play.
want to talk about that before it's offline?
Well, I
Womp
feel
womp.
for Square Enix, but you know, when Foam Stars was first kind of announced, people thought it was a Splatoon game,
Yes.
and it wishes it were a Splatoon game. It is not as good as Splatoon, and it's got a lot of graphical resources placed at it. It looks kind of like a soulless Sonic the Hedgehog level, casino level, but the foam conceit is not territorial control like it is in Splatoon. It's really just a way of playing an arena shooter with bubbles. And so I don't think it's going to last very long. I played it only because it was no additional cost for my PlayStation Plus Essential, whatever the baseline poor person's choice is for that. But I wish it were better than it is. It doesn't have a lot of soul. It wasn't enjoyable to play. It had a hard crash. So unlike Helldivers, which got through some of this matchmaking issue because the game itself was fun, I don't see the fun in Foam Stars. And I don't know exactly how it got made the way it did, because it does feel that like that kind of empty suit with a weird kind of Sega graphics and sound panache. It's using music from like the Persona series in a casino environment with a game that isn't fun. So I don't know how that gets made exactly, but I wish it were different.
Yeah, I think many of us kind of said or assumed it was like Splatoon, but to your point, it has not done well since launch this week. In terms of, when I say done well, I mean critically, it's reviewed pretty poorly. Opinions I've seen anecdotally haven't been good on it. So to your point, we were just talking about what you need to kind of survive in a live service kind of continued player model, and with so many options out there, I don't see how this does that, given what I've heard about it. So
I can't speak to what people will get attached to, because there have been winners that I haven't seen and losers that I thought would be great.
of course,
But I don't see the attachment point on this. It's a kind of arena hero shooter with bubbles and kind of very Japanese aesthetic. And I just don't see that working well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's touch on what occurred this week. As I said at the start, I don't really want to rehash everything. I'll give you the 30 seconds in case you missed it. Basically, reports the dam broke this week that Xbox had an internal shift in strategy to varying degrees depending on who you listen to, and was going to be publishing some of their games on other platforms, including the Switch and PS5. This, of course, once one site raced to break a leak or whatever, bunch of sites raced to do the same, and you had people tripping over opinions left and right, which some have now been pulled back. It's been an absolute mess in terms of insider reporting this week. I wrote an article on it late this week, my own perspective. We did not report on any of the leaks, but just my own perspective on the marketplace for Xbox as it relates to what their decision may or may not be in this space. Since this point, Phil Spencer has come out and said that they are doing the vision for the future of Xbox, I think is what he called it, next week. So we'll hear officially from the team at Xbox this week, and then we can have a proper conversation about it. Sadly, not next week, but we'll talk about it when we return. Anyway, what I really wanted to tackle, guys, is around, I've talked about this a little bit in various forms, but we've seen more recently the growth, at least in the social media space and the YouTube space, right? The growth of insiders or people racing to leak stuff as a method of gaining an audience. And it has become a big focus for the conversation around gaming, for the kind of the people that are in it like us. And I've said my piece before on it. I think it does a lot of harm in a lot of ways, not only just to the people who obviously work in the space and are planning things and everything that goes along with that, but there's so much misinformation out there, right? And it causes stuff like this week where it just kind of creates this whole community of chaos with no facts being shared anywhere, right? We don't actually know what's occurring yet. And there's people claiming they know things who obviously don't. There's all kinds of just absurdities of things and oddities, I guess, of things going on. And I just want to get kind of your thoughts on this environment in general, because I think it's not good, right? It's not good for any of us. And I kind of hate the race to leak stuff to gain an audience. I just think that's a terrible place for gaming coverage to be in, but it is in for in a sad way. So anyway, I'll stop talking. But
I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot to say about I want to talk about the actual rumors and what it means for Xbox, because I do have a lot to say there. But on the actual kind of dialogue about this, I don't have a lot to say that's positive. I hate the way the internet reacts and then overreacts and then almost seems to be in a contest to see who can have the most insane public breakdown. It's a very bizarre thing to do, and I would just advise people to just take a chill pill, go for a walk, come back to your screen before you participate in this sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, the whole outrage and the discourse on this one was brutal, and I have a lot of opinions about if this is true, what it means for Xbox and why I think they might be doing this. But I'm not trying to have a meltdown on Twitter about it. So that's
I think that the world of social media and YouTube and influencers rewards this kind of hyperbolic positioning, right? One of the reasons I even started doing this at all was that I thought there was a lot of information out there that was getting misconstrued from a legal and business basis. And I thought I could help in various ways. And I have, I think, in some circumstances, but in other circumstances, some people don't want to be helped. Some people want to rage at whatever it is that they want to rage at. And when something as simple as rumors are that Starfield might be released on PlayStation 5 leads inexorably in one night to what we could see from afar was going to be, this is the end of Xbox as we know it. The brand is over. It's all dead. And the rending of garments and gnashing of teeth proceeding for the rest of the week was something that you could see in advance. I think there is a problem with discourse on a whole host of topics that are more important than video games.
Yes.
But on video games specifically, I think that we have to start looking at how these companies do business. The phrase that I hear a lot that I wasn't familiar with until more folks learned to know me on YouTube was this kind of parasocial relationship that you wind up having with brands and people that you don't really know. And I think that the Phil Spencer regime at Xbox and Microsoft has been, as part of its marketing strategy, trying to have closer ties with some of these personalities that are maybe still invested in that kind of clicks for engagement in a way that isn't healthy for industry marketing. And I think to some extent we have to discuss Microsoft's position in facilitating what they saw this last week. And I don't know that that's fair to them entirely, but to some extent you have to be aware of what you're doing when you engage with folks on this basis. So I think that's part of the story. And people will come into my Twitter, just me saying that sentence, and say I'm a PlayStation shill or whatever. But I'm not talking about Sony at all. This is just Microsoft and Phil Spencer, who I think has done a good job of getting his giant company to invest in this hobby that I love. But there are instances where any human being can make corrections or tack differently when they see how these things happen. I do think perhaps Xbox management got a little bit too close to some incendiary factions in the social media environment and perhaps needs to rethink their community management position on those things.
I think that's well said.
I don't think it was intentional, by the way. I think it was just a matter of like somebody says something nice about your brand on Twitter, or a lot of them meet them in person when they go to events and stuff like that. I get how it can happen. I mean, who here hasn't become friends with somebody on social and then later realized that they were unhinged. I mean,
A crazy person.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it when I met Hogue and Ains for the first time, and now we're on the show together. So yeah,
I would say the same about meeting Travis.
Yeah,
But no,
fair.
you say it's not intentional. I don't think it's intentional to just side with elements that maybe are problematic online. I do think it's intentional to have a more personalized brand and to maybe engage with influencer marketing more than the predecessor or other companies would be willing to do.
Correct.
Yep.
You know,
I've
when we
written about that too.
Yeah.
we
They've
joke about
embraced it.
we joke about the coldness of Jim Ryan or any of the other things that we see in various other management places. And Phil Spencer is known in a way that a lot of other managers in video gaming is not because of that closeness, but it creates this kind of emotionality that I think we saw really come to the fore on what was a very limited rumor to begin with that got out of hand just in terms of rumors. Then that got out of hand 2 more steps down the line to the end of all things in a way that was not what Microsoft would have wanted, but not even really what fans of Xbox or those influencers would have wanted. It just kind of spiraled on itself. And I did a video in Virtual Legality to talk about that, that was trying to help certain things. I don't know whether I wound up doing that or not, because certain elements in social media took various things that I said and did whatever they wanted with them to continue to foment chaos.
Yeah,
So
it was a good show. I was there. I mean, I think you did a great job. I mean, I'm not sure what, it's just people.
It's just people.
I'm
it is
the
just
opposite
people, but when you empower the mob, you can't really be surprised when they do something unpredictable that goes against what you were hoping.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and if I'm at Microsoft, I'm looking at that and saying we have to
Yeah.
consider our community management strategies.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I'm the opposite, of you guys a little bit, at least Travis, because I'm when I saw this first happen, at first I was like, I don't believe it until I see it, like until there's like an official, statement from whoever. Then it's just all rumors. However, with that being said, I do love watching meltdowns from people. Like I feed off.
Dan
of
does
that.
love that.
I do love it so much, and just watching these people lose these identities that they have taken years and years to build up and cultivate these huge fan bases, and just watching them just lose their crap over a rumor that may or may not be true, that was without any other kind of forethought or investigation. It just makes me happy, and it just it's bad for the business, but it's good for me. I always, when people talk about the gaming community, that's my air quotes. This isn't a community. Sometimes it's that's a lie. I mean, it's just tribalism, and I hope this happens to the PlayStation community as well. And maybe the Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo's they're kind of soft spoken, so I don't really care about them. But like, I hope it happens to them too. And I watch them melt down. I have no dog in this fight. I don't care. But it is enjoyable just to see these people just lose everything that they've had, and their entire audience just melt down with them, and it warms my heart. And I hope it happens more. So that's just me. So thanks, guys. I'll listen off the air.
Can we talk about the rumors themselves?
Sure.
I want to talk about that.
I mean, that's what my article was about, is really about, Xbox at its core.
The strategy.
I read that this morning.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that,
Thank
so
you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I repeat some of the thoughts you said. Assuming
Haynes'
that
article is very good.
Yeah, very good.
I think the rumor's probably true. First of all, and I'm just saying that, just speculating based off of what Microsoft's business is.
Not one specific, but you mean general in terms of game publishing.
I think their games are coming to other platforms. Generally speaking, I don't think it's going to be all of them, and I don't think it's going to be day and date, but I think it's going to happen. And I think we have a lot of evidence to suggest that this has been their desire for a long time, and maybe now they kind of are seeing that there's not a ton of reason to not do this. And I actually think it could play into Xbox's favor in a number of ways. One, I want to say that people who think that they're getting out of the console business, I don't think that makes any sense. if you have the largest gaming subscription right now, you need a platform to sell it on, and right now their competitors don't seem willing to do that. And I think you have to have a place for Xbox to do that. And I think the value proposition remains the same. Of you can buy this game probably 6 to 12 months late on PlayStation, and you can pay $70 for it, or you can have a subscription where it's all inclusive, right? And it doesn't cost $70 on our platform, or at least we have other options. I also think that exposing your games to a much bigger audience, which is the PlayStation player, and having them develop a connection and love for your games makes them more likely to maybe get a Game Pass subscription, or they fall in love with Gears of War, and then you say the next Gears game is coming to Xbox 12 months before it comes to PlayStation, and maybe those people buy a Series S or something. I think it helps a lot there. I also don't think it helps them, or I don't think it hurts them from a PR standpoint. I think if you are seen as the competitor that puts your games everywhere, it makes your competitor look archaic, look like they don't have the same kind of pro gamer business model as you. And so I think this is something that to me makes sense. I don't think it's a very different from PlayStation strategy with the PC platform. And I think that I think it could be actually a if you're losing the game, if you don't like the game that is being played, you change it. And I think Microsoft has in the past shown that they're pretty good at doing that. I think that's probably what they're doing now. I think it's probably going to be good for gamers. I think it's probably going to be great for Xbox. And I don't think people who like the Xbox platform or the console have anything to worry about, because I think this could only help them personally. That's the way I see it. And I think this might be a good thing. And I think that the meltdowns that were happening, or this is the end of Xbox, are kind of crazy to me, because I don't see that at all in this. I see this as probably a good move on their part that could end up making Xbox bigger.
Well, the really strange one to me is that you have to get your brain to accept that they spent $100 billion to exit the console space the next year. Like
Yeah.
you have to take those steps to get yourself to that place. And I don't see that happening. I said in my video,
deal, Hogue. Done deal.
I said in my video, even if they brought Starfield to PlayStation, I know that's the one that is the most contentious, because one of the insiders, quote unquote, revoked their statement on Starfield coming to PlayStation 5. But even if that happens, I agree with Travis that it's a good sales pitch for Xbox as an ecosystem and Game Pass as a product. And that's one of the reasons why you can see me on my channel say, when we're trying to guess what they're going to do with the Activision assets or the Bethesda assets, that I anticipated that the big games that were anticipated by more than just the Xbox fan base probably would be on multiple consoles, because it didn't actually represent direct competition to the product that Xbox was selling in Game Pass. And so you still go and get your 70% of the money from the other platforms with the big audiences. You make all that money. You have advertising for Game Pass that is essentially made by the other console holders. And that makes a lot of sense. I think that was a fight over strategy as those acquisitions were happening. And at least at the time the acquisitions happened, the notion was, instead of making Game Pass more attractive, we're going to try to make our box more attractive, the consoles more attractive. And what really seems to have changed the state of play, no pun intended, is that the financials came out and they held back those games to the exclusive Xbox platform and didn't really see a movement in Game Pass sales or hardware sales that they would have expected for those things. And because of that, then you start looking at other ways to make money with those assets that you spent money on. And I think Travis is exactly right. The con side of the pros list here for moving games and putting them on competing platforms is very, very limited, because you are competing on a different game than the walled garden consoles of old. And so I do think, and this was put in some of the rumor articles, that there is an internal strategic fight happening at Microsoft, not Xbox Gaming necessarily, not the gaming side of things, but Microsoft is a much, much bigger company than just its gaming sector. And I think there is a discussion being had as to what their future looks like. I don't know whether Starfield is going to PlayStation or not. I think that's a relatively minor question in the grand scheme of things. I do think Xbox is going to be more of a software as a service company than a plastic box manufacturing company. Does that mean they're going to exit consoles entirely? No. And does that mean that competition from PlayStation against PlayStation ceases? No. I think people think about this too narrowly as plastic boxes fighting under a TV, and Xbox, Microsoft, whatever they wind up calling themselves, is going to be a huge force that is going to be able to act in a competitive framework in the market of video games, regardless of whether or not they make a plastic box or not.
I think they will make a plastic box.
All correct.
Yeah,
all correct. I won't rehash either what you guys said or what I already wrote. It's all very similar, and there's a lot of reasons and data behind that kind of drive any potential decision making by Xbox to do what you guys said. I think it's probably the smart move to do at this point. And I think that as the only thing I would add, which you guys basically touched on anyway, is you still you actually increase the value of the Xbox ecosystem if you do this the right way, right? Because you can use things like timed exclusivity to your guys' point. You can get investment in the Xbox ecosystem, which has downstream effects in terms of microtransactions and monthly active user counts and other things that go into that advertising, right? That all plays into the kind of MAU, if you will, of the ecosystem. So there's a lot of considerations here that are just I know Abe, shout out to Abe in the chat, one bad mother. We were having a lot of conversations about this week, and it's just the opinions on this of the understanding of what the gaming industry is in 2024 from a kind of core player, or maybe just this small community that we're talking about here, right, are very narrow. Just the understanding of the concept of the global gaming industry, how it functions, where the revenue streams from, what impact other areas. It's very shallow. And I think that if you take the bigger picture at hand here and kind of understand exactly what these guys just said, exactly what I wrote about, I think you'll have a better kind of understanding of why Xbox may publish games elsewhere to some degree. And this has been a long time coming. This is not something that, Xbox has been driving kind of forward with their new direction for a while now, because to Travis's point, when you take the global perspective of brand power between Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, as we rightly know, Xbox is in a distant third. You can take the revenue numbers out of that, especially post Bethesda and ABK, but that's a separate conversation from reach and brand power too. So there's just a lot of factors, but
I also think there's one overlooked reason for why this is a good idea, which is that Xbox has actually tried, and I think done the best job of the first party console owners to make live service games a thing. And those games cannot exist if they're exclusive to your platform. And we've seen Xbox fail at it a lot. And so, and I actually don't think that they're bad at the live service model. I think Microsoft gets it way more than Sony gets it, way more than Nintendo gets it. I think they get online better and they get live service better.
100%. Just look at their suite of games.
Yeah.
State of Decay, Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. But
Forza Horizon.
You cannot, succeed in those games long term while ignoring a large part of the market. And I think you have to get those. Sea of Thieves has to be on the largest console platform that we have today.
Sea of Thieves is by far the one that makes the most sense, and I do think it's the one that's the least concerning to Xbox fans. Right? It makes a logical amount of sense for everybody. It's those Starfields and Indiana Joneses that really freak people out,
and I don't get why.
I don't exactly
apply logic to it.
Yeah. I don't really get it as we just discussed for all those reasons, but I think the live service games like that has to be one of the biggest motivators internally. Is look at ESO's numbers. What would ESO be without PlayStation? Now look at Sea of Thieves. Could Sea of Thieves see that same type of upward trajectory if it were on that platform? And I think in those cases it's like a no-brainer, and I think Microsoft has plans for live service games in the future like Halo Infinite, and I think those plans don't really make mathematical sense if you are cutting off part of the market and keeping it to your walled garden, because Xbox has the smallest walled garden. It just doesn't,
and especially if you get the financials back and your garden didn't move. You held them as exclusive.
That's the core point, right? And Altark says, the framing of how it benefits the Xbox core gamer, though, making live service money, how does it benefit him or players like him? And the point I made is that, look, at the end of the day, it's revenue for that brand that you're supporting, right? Like you can't go out and spend $70 billion on ABK and then just expect Xbox not to, to Hoag's point, right? What they did with Game Pass and what they did with Starfield and the things they did over the past 2 years, that stayed flat. And at some point in time, you can't spend that kind of money and not look at how you're going to regain that revenue. How it benefits you directly is that Xbox making that revenue allows them to invest in these studios like they have been doing, and it allows them to invest in creating experiences like Sea of Thieves or Pentiment as maybe an example, or these finishing up Psychonauts 2 to make it such a incredible game. That's what you're getting as an Xbox gamer. So you're staying in the ecosystem, you're getting everything you love. It's just that some of the games that you can play, some other people can play now too. I don't know how that's a bad trade-off.
It also just improves the value prop of the Xbox platform so much by saying pay for $70 on PlayStation or just subscribe to us and have an Xbox. I think that alone is enough to make it worth it. It still gives Xbox a competitive argument for existing.
Oh, hell. I mean, if it weren't for regulators necessarily, I don't know why you couldn't say the ones that are on our competitive platforms are $100, right? You just say, look, the advertisement for Game Pass is we can give you this premium experience, but we're going to sell it like you're buying an HBO TV show on DVD.
On DVD. Yeah. Let's get go ahead, Dan.
Let me ask you, what's the point, I guess? I mean, if you guys, or what do you see if you had to give it your best guess, coming next week from Phil? I mean, what do you, because you guys keep, I see a lot of people saying, oh, you put it on Game Pass or whatever for 6 months.
I don't even know if this is going to be from Phil, honestly.
Right. Or whoever it is. And then, then you release it on other platforms. Like, what's the benefit of that? Because I don't feel like there's really a whole lot. Like, I think that actually hurts you more than doing it day and date just everywhere. I mean, you look at something like Deathloop, or what's that one? The other one they had, the weird Japanese game that I like.
Ghostwire
Tokyo. Yeah. I mean, it didn't come to Xbox with like some huge fanfare. Neither one of them really did. There's a hot point, when that game first releases, right? Like where everybody's really, really interested, and then when it comes back around where it's, okay, now it's on the Xbox, it's not like everybody was like, oh, we got this game, there wasn't like this excitement.
Yeah, but
get on launch.
Remember, you're talking anecdotally, though. We don't know what the sales figures were or the revenue there.
Well, I'm just asking, like what would
Well, it was also the opposite, right? Where it was the big platform first and then the small one later. If the roles were reversed, it might be very different. You might see a larger splash when it comes to the other one, because we see that with PC, right? PlayStation will put a game out, and then when they put it on PC is such a large platform, you see a big splash.
Think of Death Stranding. Death Stranding did not sell when it launched on PlayStation, and then over time, and when it launched on PC, it reinvigorated that conversation, and it's gone on to sell millions more copies.
100%.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge audience, though, too. I mean,
that's Travis's point.
PlayStation's a huge audience.
Yeah, we're talking about it coming out on Game Pass, and then 6 or 12 months later coming to PlayStation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just don't see the point of not releasing it day and date. I think you lose a little bit.
It gives value. It gives value to your platform,
but that hasn't worked so far, right? I mean, that's what you got.
Well, they haven't tried the model that we're even framing out here, which of course is all rumor and speculation based.
Correct. Yeah,
but I mean, part of this is A/B testing, trial and error, right? It wouldn't surprise me if during the acquisitions, Phil or other management at Xbox said, let's try it out and see whether we can move the hardware and Game Pass needle, and that this was the push afterwards where they say, well, we're not moving it. We didn't spend $100 billion to not move it. And now we're going to try a different approach. I suspect they're going to try a different approach. Does that mean every game comes to PlayStation? No, of course not. Does that mean ones that you didn't expect are? Yes. And at that point, as Travis says, you're still going to try to maintain value in your ecosystem, because that's dead weight loss if you don't try. So you do something like a timed exclusive. You do something like a high exclusive full DLC. Purchase price on PlayStation, and you say that's an ad for Game Pass. You put a Game Pass logo on those and remind people that they can get them for cheaper over there, and you hope that moves it if you're Xbox and Microsoft. But they're just trying to figure out how to maximize their asset value like anybody else.
Yeah.
And to Ains's point on that, for the folks that care, if you're worried about Xbox just not existing, I don't think that's realistic, but you want Microsoft to make money from their investments at bare minimum for the next company that wants to invest in this hobby that you love to want to do it in the future, right? So you don't want Microsoft to have taken this big swing and then explode in a ball of fire, but that's unlikely anyway. And gamers are going to be advantaged by Microsoft having success with this investment.
Yeah. And Altark says, to your question, Dan, Altark says, Dan, is a good point. If permanent exclusive isn't moving hardware, maybe this is what you were asking, Dan, isn't moving hardware, why would 6-month exclusive?
Like
Yeah,
you guys said,
I think
move the needle.
I think that was his question, and it's a great question because
the question is the 6-month timed exclusivity, whatever it is, we say 6 month timed exclusivity is not about moving more Xbox hardware. It's about retaining value in the Xbox ecosystem while gaining revenue on a new platform.
Yeah, you take it as a baseline and then you collect 70% of your dollar bucks.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I also think that you could move hardware if, in my opinion, the exclusives that we got that they kept on the Xbox platform weren't as I need it now as you might expect. Like Starfield, we know Bethesda games are a little bit unstable the first couple months. Some people didn't like it as much as they were expecting. There were a lot of kind of question marks on that. But if you never know what game is going to hit, but at some point Microsoft is going to have an Xbox exclusive that is so catches fire like crazy that people are going to say 6 months is too much to wait. And the Series S
imagine Pal World were theirs.
Exactly. Yeah, Pal World is a great example of like, hey, maybe that'll actually move units if people can't afford a PC. So I think it could happen. I just think as a policy, if you're trying to preserve your ground, and I mean, in my view, Game Pass can't exist without Xbox having a console because there has to be a home for it. You can't put all of your eggs in the basket of, gee, I hope Nintendo doesn't decide we don't get to be a business today.
Well, I mean, I think selling them to TV manufacturers is probably the right next step, and getting that visibility out there, right? You want Game Pass to be known as a commodity like Netflix was by the masses, not just you and I, right? We're on here talking about video games on a Sunday afternoon, but when you get Game Pass means games in people's heads, that's what Microsoft is aimed at. And so putting it on TVs, putting it on everything short of toaster ovens is helpful to that endeavor. And so I think that's the direction they will go. But that is not, even without a hardware box, and I don't think they're going to exit hardware, but even without a hardware box, that doesn't stop putting competitive pressure on PlayStation. And I think that's where gamers need to realize that gaming was more wild and woolly before we entered into this triumvirate, right? Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony have been here forever. But before that point, there were so many hardware manufacturers trying to get in, whether it was Philips or 3DO, TurboGrafx, all these things tried to get into video gaming because they could see money there. It isn't the end of competition if Microsoft even exits the hardware space, because they're not exiting the gaming space one way or the other.
Correct.
And folks kind of need to grok that a little bit more. And I think it's just the fact that we've had this kind of quasi stability. We have differing Xbox and PlayStation generations, depending on which generation we're talking about, quasi stability in the participants in the market, that they don't recognize competition can come from things other than this specific Xbox versus Sony PlayStation paradigm.
Hogue, I don't appreciate you just reading my article. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're going to just read it out loud, I mean, come on.
Hey, you know what?
I agree I agree that they will do all that stuff, but I do think you need a home base for your console, at least right now in the space of cloud isn't quite there yet. And I don't even know if it's going to be short term. I think it'll probably be longer than you think, but I think it's good for there to be a competitor in the console space in general. So I do not think that it's really even on the roadmap right now to get rid of console gaming.
Yeah, let me so check this out. Tom Warren's here from The Verge.
I know, I love that. Hey, I saw him in the comments. What's up, Tom?
What's up, Tom? Good to see you, man. He said they have a problem.
As an author, I quote a lot.
They have a problem with Game Pass awareness. They should do TV ads for certain games, or they say buy this for $70 on other consoles, get it on Game Pass for $10. And I think that's
they should do that.
Probably what we're talking about with kind of the A/B testing, right? Is starting to go down that road for that reason. So, yeah, Tom, good to see you, man. Would love to have you on sometime. You know, hopefully It'd be
2 weeks
fun
from
to have
now, I
you on.
won't be here.
Hey,
Tom,
he's a friend of the Last Word. We've had him on to talk about Destiny. So yeah,
Nice.
love to
Yeah.
catch up with you again, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you, Tom. Thank you for commenting. Let's get a couple of these super chats as well here.
can do. The Dean Files, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. With the Starfield rumor backtracking, it made me think Phil pulled a Tyrion and told multiple internal teams the same business plan, but with different games to see where the leaks were coming from. The old
And
pie
turns out
cell
all of them.
is what they call
Turns
them.
out all of them leaked it, and he was just like, "Damn
Yes.
it."
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah, that was
Sorry, I
yeah.
was typing.
So that's kind of a deep cut, to be honest, but I love it.
It's a possibility, but
It's a fun possibility.
I have to believe that Phil Spencer and
I
the
wish.
management team at Xbox had their fingers more on the pulse of what this would look like as this specific rumor came out. And so you wouldn't play around with this rumor, generally speaking, just to isolate a leaker. I'm not saying they didn't, but as you can see from it spiraling out of control, if they did, they now know that was the wrong play. However,
yeah, they just found out all of them. Yeah, I think probably what happened is word got out a little bit early, and then people who have looser lips were asked about it by people that know those people, and they just said something, because once the ship leaks a little bit, it tends to just flood. And yeah,
there's an echo chamber of backroom Discord channels and DMs and things that go on in this vein, and it's someone called it, what's the I don't want to use a derogatory term, what's the term for whispering down the line, you know what I mean? And one thing, it's just the story.
Telephone.
Yeah.
Is that what it was
Telephone
called? I didn't realize it was
a game of telephone. Yeah.
telephone
Okay,
isn't
all right, yeah.
offensive to anyone, I don't think.
No, I hope not.
What's the derogatory term? Now I'm curious. I want to know what the heck you were thinking of.
Because I saw someone use a term that had an ethnicity attached to it. I'm like, I'm not saying that out loud because I don't know what that's in
I know
relation
what you're talking
to.
about. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so yeah,
I'm from Kansas. We know that stuff.
Why do you guys have like this special premium subscription to racist slurs?
This on me. I saw it.
We just get the basic ones over here. You guys got these advanced baubles and trinkets.
It's in the chat now. You don't have to worry about it. Nobody has to say it. Somebody said it.
I have no idea where that comes from. I'm just saying.
I don't even know.
Anyway, Dean, thank you for the super chat. I kind of hope that's true. It would be kind of funny, honestly, to understand exactly from some of the Xbox leadership, probably knowing where these cracks are, if you will. But yeah, it's a funny cut anyway.
I suspect it's just you get to the level of board meetings and giant conference rooms, and it's hard to keep stuff like that, a complete change in strategy, completely quiet at a big corporation or big entity of any kind. Right? Conference rooms have windows usually. It's very easy to have some of this stuff slip out, and for it to not be 100% known even by the insider that might be leaking it to a random person online. So you get a lot of this kind of crosstalk, and then you have your community explode.
I do think leaks can help the community. There are whistleblowers that say things about company practices that are not cool. There's I mean, this stuff can happen. That is, I think, maybe helps the community. I think generally it doesn't. I think generally it creates speculation and panic and bad stuff. But there's a time and place for it. I just think that the internet and clout chasing and some of the relationships don't always lead to the best outcomes. But it can't help. Yeah. Whistleblowers are kind of a cool thing. That's a leak. I'm glad we learn about bad practices like that.
I gotta believe it's primarily a question about like those leaks we get about game development and the future of a given game, Grand Theft Auto 6, what have you. And I don't know that leaks in particular help the community, but I do think it's useful, as Travis says, for a whole number of more important reasons than what the next Grand Theft Auto is going to be about, to have people that are willing to talk to folks on the outside from time to time about what's happening inside.
Exactly.
I think that's useful across things, not just gaming.
Different industries.
The way it works at like a professional outlet, like the one I represent from time to time, is that those relationships are important because you want to know who to talk to figure out, hey, what are you guys working on? Is there a chance for us to get in there and take a look at it so that we can be the people to break the story and talk about it? And there's kind of a very good like, hey, I just want to see what these teams are up to and help get the word out to my audience when the time's right. But those sorts of professional relationships don't result in leaking because we know how much to ask, and we know we always sign NDAs to make sure that we don't talk about things before we've agreed to talk about it. But those relationships can be useful when something happens that is big enough that somebody should probably go rogue with it. That's where kind of the whistleblower and other kind of information comes through. And you can see that happen with, like, the Schreiers of the world, where those relationships have been hard won, and that trust has been hard won, where people trust certain people with that information. Rebecca Valentine's a great example at IGN. She's got really good relationship with people at the Bungie studio. So it's pretty cool. I appreciate that sort of stuff, but I do think it kind of gets out of hand sometimes when information comes too early and spoils a game or tramples over hard work of developers. And obviously all of that.
That's why journalism is a profession, right? I mean, you have to make these ethical calls about what is useful to the community, the public, your readership to know, and what is better background to just be more sophisticated in talking to people within an industry.
That's right.
And I give a great deal of credit to journalists for doing that. I know people come into Hangouts and Headlines and ask, why I'm critical of certain reads and things. And I think it's important to be able to look at what is written in a critical thinking kind of manner. But journalists do a lot of good work, even when I'm hard on them. And so I think leaks can absolutely help. Information sources can absolutely help. And what you are seeing is what Travis kind of yells about from time to time on this very show in the Xbox.
I was just going to say that.
Is influencers and leakers and sources and things going outside of that ethical bounds, and you see the results of that in a very negative light. Now, whether or not he represents a professional organization depends on what op-ed we're talking about, but we'll leave that for another time.
Op-eds are a whole different can of worms.
We're at 3 hours, boys.
Op-eds are a whole different can of worms, but I will say there's to Hoke's point, there are certain protocols you follow. You never report on a story unless you have more than one source. It's stuff like that, and there's editorial oversight to make sure that happens. And I think you don't get that when you are working with these individual personalities. And I think
call me what you want to call me, Travis.
Radicalized YouTubers, and I think Hoke's point is fair, which is that there have been some relationships between Xbox intentionally established with these outlier personalities who now think that they have clout or a say. And I think when you empower the mob like that,
that's
you kind of reap what you sow a little bit in this case. And so naturally, I'm on the side of professional journalists because that's the world I live in. But I see both sides. I see a use for both of them. I have my own personal tilt.
I was just laughing at that. Was perfect delivery by Hogue. I was not expecting that right at the end of that commentary. That was good, Hogue. Thank you for that.
It was good.
I just had to comment on him commenting on his own
op-eds, guys. Op-eds they're a thing.
We're not going down the rabbit hole. We're not going down it.
Nope, we're already at 246, gents. Come on.
So Alt Arcade at the $5 super chat. $5 says they mentioned the next gen Xbox next week, if only to reassure people. So this is what I was kind of saying. Like, if we get all these leaks and rumors and stuff, wouldn't it just be better? I mean, of course you don't know that what's going to leak or anything, but to get ahead of it with just keeping people informed of what's happening.
I think that's
I don't think they had settled.
No. This event that we're getting this week was reportedly planned for like a month from now, right? Like they were going to have an Xbox kind of update in the future. It's been moved up in terms of speed to get ahead to try and address these things.
Yeah.
What I was explaining to someone else is like, why don't Phil Spencer come out on Twitter and just respond? It's like, dude, you can't do like they don't understand. Like Microsoft, like they don't understand.
$3 trillion company, dude.
Yeah,
but that's
not even small companies
right?
Move that fast.
It's like Phil Spencer's just a guy. It's like
I know,
but
it ties back.
I will take that action on that bet.
Well, I have a math question here. If you pay for a $5 super chat and then say $5 says, are we talking about an additional $5? Do we have to return the $5? What is Travis?
Technically, we don't get $5, so that would be
that's true.
So I think
we have to go get it from Google.
I think this is a separate bet, completely separate from the very kind donation he made. But I actually think the odds are in your favor. I'm going to give it 60-40 odds. So if you're willing, I would like to bet $4 against your 6. I think that's fair odds here. Actually, 4 against 5 works. So if you're correct, I want $5. If I'm correct, I want $5. If you're correct, I want 4, because I think it's likely that you're right, but I will take the bet.
He means he'll give you 4, not he wants 4 if you're correct.
Correct.
Just to be clear, the lawyer in me says that you can't have that deal.
Yeah.
But no, this is how
Cash
betting
App in
works,
his
right?
DMs.
There's
Yep.
odds. You got to
Yes,
take
but
odds.
when you lose, you owe the money, Travis. You don't get the money.
Did I say it the other way?
You did.
Okay. I will give you $4 if I lose. If I win, I want $5. Those are the odds I think. If I'm setting the conversion ratio in Vegas, I think odds are in your favor here.
So
you're like at a minus 110 or so is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. Dan's betting some money this weekend.
He's on his phone betting right now.
Or sure. Yeah.
Someone can look this up and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm losing my mind, but I'm about 90% sure that Phil has already made the comment that they're already working on their next Xbox.
You are right.
So,
you are correct.
I feel like people have forgotten that. Like
they've
already said they're working on their next console.
Yeah, but I tend to agree with this super chat and saying that they might do something more of the Project Scarlet.
No, I get it, but I think there's a percentage of the community that doesn't realize they've already said that.
That is
they've been
true,
developing the thing for 6 years, right? I mean, it's how it works.
They've also said a bunch of stuff about like exclusivity of certain games that they've now reneged
on. Well, that's
on.
true.
So
that's
true. I think maybe the fear is, hey, look, Xbox seems to not really commit to anything. Our friend Jez wrote a great article about kind of the distrust that has been sown and Microsoft loyalists over the years, and why people are rightfully worried that Xbox is just going to vanish. And I think that's a totally fair point, because you've seen Xbox be willing
to.
I
use my Zune every day. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you've seen Xbox willing to just throw the baby out with the bathwater a lot of times on certain
Microsoft,
projects.
You mean?
Yeah, sorry, Microsoft. And I think there's a total, real, legitimate fear there. I think it is unfounded in this particular case. But I get why people think that. And so I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to say, hey, that is still our plan. I know you guys think we change plans a lot, because we do. But that's still a plan. So that is why I give you favorable odds. I think you're probably right, but I'll take it, because I think it's probably almost a coin toss. I can see that.
Thank you for the super chat today, Altar.
I expect
Mixer is the biggest example. Oh my god,
I'm still mad.
I cannot believe that one. That is crazy.
Yeah, I liked Mixer a lot.
I liked it a lot too, and they invested a lot of money in it, and I love to see that Twitch finally had a legit competitor, and it seemed like things are going well, and then it just died so quick.
That one. Tom followed up, by the way. It's kind of gone down in the chat now, but Tom followed up, and he was basically saying that you're going to see some of the. He does think there's some weight behind some of these announcements, but they're not in his belief. They're not going to announce them all this week. That's for sure, slow and steady. And I think that's right. You don't just U-turn. You have to kind of bring the audience along with you.
I'd expect Hi-Fi Rush and a general statement that we're going to be evaluating on a case-by-case basis.
Reiterating a case-by-case basis.
Reiterating from the regulatory filings. But yeah, I mean, stating for more specifically that we're going to look at all of our assets and whether or not they make sense for bigger communities, because we want gamers to game, right? You frame it as positively as you can.
Yep. Yeah. Shoosh.
All right. Shoosh with the $5. Whistleblower discourse sounds like an invitation to SG. Wink, wink. Yeah.
I mean, I can't talk about it while we're live, Shoosh, but hit me up in DM.
Yep.
That's right.
Also the cheese.
Ains's DMs are open. So if you have any
they actually
are
blow,
open. Let them know.
Don't say that too loud.
My DMs are also open. You can tell me to kill myself. That seems people are really big fan of that one. That's most of the comments I get. I would love to have. I have very few connections. I have connections with like people at Bungie and a couple other studios. That's it. But that's if you want to toss me a hot lead, I'll take it gratefully, man. I got it's pretty dry out here. Also, if you want to tell me to kill myself, I mean, go for it, man.
That's like a weekly Dan thing to do. Like, another sock account and just be like, kill yourself, Travis.
Yeah, that's true. I would not be surprised if some of these were one of the times you forget to log out of your main account and just kill yourself as Dan. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. Yeah.
So you guys think that, or Tom apparently thinks that this is going to be kind of a slower, we're going to go is it you're talking like game by game or like just like a general?
Yeah,
They're not going to want to
already-
affirm one way or the other on a lot of stuff that's further out.
I
That's
think
true.
I think they'll introduce the idea that this is going to start happening on some games, and then they'll slowly roll out and test a
Make it
game after
worse.
game, and it'll be in a
Yeah.
weird situation where
It's-
nobody
because
knows if it's coming to the other platform or not.
it goes back to the whole A/B testing thing, Dan. Like they don't know the success of what they're, if they make this type of shift we're talking about, right? You don't know what that success looks like in terms of revenue and numbers and how it's going to have downstream impacts of other things in their ecosystem, right? So you do it slowly. You don't just come out and say all of our games are going third party. Like that's never going to happen. You do it as a slow burn. But remember, if they did that, right, that could hurt them more than help them. They don't really know at this point. They're trying to get data. Is the short answer to the equation.
Yeah,
They kind of already have some data because they now have Activision and Bethesda,
Yes,
which are already
correct.
publishing games on PlayStation.
Yep.
My thinking is, I tend to think it's going to be a little bit more broad than Tom is suggesting, because I think they have the data to say that we know that this works better, and so I think they're just going to say, look, we're going to make it timed exclusive. Game Pass is the value prop. We're not leaving the console space. Xbox is stronger than ever, but we want more people to play the games, and we're going to start doing that. And here's 4 or 5 games that we're going to start with that are going to be on this new We're Publishing Everywhere platform. I think it's going to be a little bigger than that because I think they do have the data. I don't know if they need to test at this point.
I think Hi-Fi and Sea of Thieves, if we're going to do more than one, I don't think they announce anything specific on anything else.
Interesting.
I guess we'll see.
I'll take that action too. What do you want?
4 to 5.
I'll pay for
Minus
your ticket to
110.
Hawaii for the Bitcast Hawaii tour. How about that? How about that? I'll buy you a floral print.
The Bitcast luau.
Yeah, dude. Guys, I'm serious about this.
We'll just call it Infinite Wealth.
Bitcast Goes Tropical has a great ring to it. That's all I'm saying.
The Infinite Cast.
Yeah, well,
All right.
I don't know
Go
anything about business, so I mean, this is not my area of expertise. Really, food.
It's going to have zero impact on you.
Yeah, none.
Literally zero. You're good
whatsoever. I mean, I wish they would just be honest and just that's what people really need. Just come out and say it. Say what you're going to say. This is what we're doing. Like, we're going to test the waters. We're going to do this. We're going to, and just say all that stuff,
But you can't,
and then,
right? Even saying that could have a negative downstream effect on your sales. So you have to say only what you're specifically doing, and you don't know what the negative ramifications are, right? That's what you're testing. That's why you are dipping your toes in the pool rather than jumping in whole hog.
I bet you
but you're not creating any confidence for your fans that way.
But your fans are your fans. Technically speaking, they're like the last party that you need to instill confidence. They're the ones that love you the most.
The people that invest into your ecosystem.
That's true.
I mean, the vast majority of percentage don't even know this is happening, Dan.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be as big of a story, and it doesn't impact them. And I actually think it'll make Microsoft stock go up, because if you're looking at it from the outside in, you're like, oh, Xbox is selling their games on a huge platform now. They're going to make more money. I think it's going to have a positive effect, and it's going to have a negative effect on a tiny group of people that you see on Twitter. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I do think that the Xbox brand might be different in a way that is uncomfortable for some that have gotten used to the way it operates now. Is that a plastic box? I think it's a question mark for what the strategy is at Microsoft internal. But either way, I think Xbox is going to be different. We knew this going into the generation. We talked about software as a service and recurring revenue streams, but I think it's really kind of come to a crystallization for some people, and that's going to be uncomfortable for some. Now, one question I have about this, Phil Spencer in his tweet said it's a business meeting. I think that one thing that Microsoft is probably working on internally, but that this looks like it was aimed more at the investor call kind of end of the information spectrum. And now with so many fans looking at it at the same time, they might change the tone, or they might not. And they might have a disconnect between how it's received by people that play games and people that follow Microsoft. So I'm interested in whether Phil gives this speech. I don't know that I would have thought that he would if it's going to be a major strategic change for Microsoft Gaming, because ordinarily I would expect that from more of the Satya Nadella higher up level of Microsoft proper. saying that we're going to go in this different direction as a strategic initiative rather than the internals at gaming. But we'll see when it happens this week at some point. I mean, I think it was interesting enough for Phil to be the one that left that tweet. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. And just to be clear, right, because it did turn in, I don't want to get us down on the rabbit hole here, but it did turn into this whole Xbox and PlayStation thing, as it tends to do. And you're fooling yourself if you don't think PlayStation is looking at similar revenue gains as well.
100%.
They've been looking at mobile. They've been looking in, different spaces. Obviously, the live service shift, we've talked about an awful lot. This is my bigger statement I made on Cast Co-op is this is the result of the gaming industry becoming a $300 billion global industry with major corporations now owning the largest stake in it. I mean, this is what you're going to see. It may feel weird for those of us who remember the NES and Sega Master System days, but this is the current state of the gaming industry.
But just remember that Philips had a gaming console, people. Philips.
I think I put Philips in my article. I listed a bunch of companies. Yeah. Soldier Boy. Yeah.
Soldier Boy, bro.
Oh, well.
Goated console. Goated console.
Best console. Real quick, just to wrap us up. Any of you watch any of the Halo season 2 yet?
Yes.
No.
I watched episode 1. I have not watched episode 2. Did you watch one or both, Dan?
I watched both.
Okay. Thoughts?
Yeah. The first 15 minutes of the first episode were better than the entire first season of the show. And then it went into way too much exposition. I don't need that with Halo. I want to see shooty, stabby, fight. I don't need all this stupid crap to actually push forward a story. I don't need an existential Master Chief crisis. I just don't need it. Like this is not what you're doing. So I'm not. My hopes are not up, but the first 15 minutes were so good, I'm willing to keep going. So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Do you and Travis Hogue, you both said no? You haven't watched it yet?
No, it's on my list.
Right. We'll save it. We'll save it.
I will say this. I am preemptively disappointed because the first season was so terrible, and I really wanted to see them lower the bar. And it sounds like they didn't do that just based on initial reactions. And I'm offended because that's what got me back into the show was I saw how bad the back half was. And I was like, dude, now I'm a diehard. Now I'm hate watching this. And I feel left behind as a fan personally. And I guess
there is some truth to that, though. I mean, in all honesty, Travis is being facetious a little bit, but there was a show I was watching on the CW that had the worst production values I've ever seen, and that I really enjoyed how trash it was. And then they got more money, and then it got to that place where it wasn't interestingly bad; it was just bad. And I fear for Halo to wind up there.
Yeah, because I personally, I was coming here to see Cortana become increasingly traumatized by Master Chief's sexual activities. And I don't think I'm going to get that. I don't think I'm going to get that in season 2. And I'm devastated because I thought the Fall of Reach was going to be a little bit more like a Roman orgy than I think we're getting. And I'm pretty upset about it.
I'm fond of the chat trying to guess what CW show I'm talking about. It has not been mentioned yet.
Is it Riverdale? Because
if Master Chief doesn't at least give a gentle peck on the nape of the neck of the Arbiter, I will consider season 2 to be a failure. That's me.
You said
was it really dark for you, Ains? It was just dark. It seemed like a really
show
dark.
Itself?
Not not in tone. I'm talking like physically.
No, I know what you mean. The actual lighting. It was
Yeah.
definitely darker than the first. I think that's probably the Fall of Reach tone they're going for some reason.
Right.
Yeah. I only watched the first episode. You're right. The first 15 minutes are fantastic. But then it goes, I was like, I actually had a big smile on my face at one time because they actually showed Chief being Chief, like being the super soldier he's supposed to
Not
be.
my chief. Not my chief.
And I was like, this is what it's supposed to be. And then the rest of the show is just, again, all these other storylines that kind of take us down these different paths. And I'm like, okay. To Dan's point, I'm like, they might be still trying to do too much with this.
Nobody cares about Quan. I'm just saying it. Everybody knows
do you guys get disappointed when you log on to Halo Infinite and you don't see Master Chief's butt cheeks? Like they should put that. They should add a skin, Halo TV show skin, Master Cheeks, where
Cheeks?
it's just
Yeah.
mess-
I
yeah, mess-
actually have a cutout I put on the corner of my monitor as I'm
yeah, I
playing.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so I
saw
can just
you. I
check
saw
out the
that. Yeah.
cheeks.
That's good,
Motivates me.
dude. That's good.
Yeah.
Keeps you in the game. Yeah, I know. I watch. You make me sit in the corner of the room while you play games like Cortana, and I give you this look. I just go,
Oh, we're going.
dude, that look on her face has literally traumatized me. I don't know that distant 1,000-yard stare, just staring into the middle distance as she watches this happen. I can't get that out of my head. Oh my
boy.
god.
I got to watch season 1 again now because I forgot just
No,
some
you
of the
don't.
parts. Oh boy.
No, you don't.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk more about it in here in a couple weeks. But let's go ahead and wrap it up, boys. It is Super Bowl Sunday. We're at the 3-hour mark again, which we said we weren't doing. I guess Bitcast is a 3-hour show now.
We did say we weren't going 3 hours today.
I know. Well, someone
it
asked
took
for a
us 2
4-hour
hours to
show,
get
and I
through
said
games.
absolutely not.
It took us 2 hours to get
Absolutely
through
not.
the games we're playing this week. That's what's bad.
Hey, but to our credit, we are a gaming podcast that actually plays games, unlike some of the ones out there.
That's true.
So, all right. From the season gaming side. So yes, we just talked about it. I did put an article up with my opinion on perspective and some industry stuff on Xbox. You can check that out. I'd appreciate it. It's actually done really well, which is cool to see. We did have cast co-op this week. Me, Joe, and Luke obviously chatted about Xbox, Suicide Squad, and a few other things. Good episode. Had a lot of fun with it. I forgot to mention 2-3 weeks ago on our cast co-op, Marty O'Donnell randomly came into our chat.
Damn.
Don't know who that is.
He is the Halo composer who did the chant and all the famous Halo music.
Oh, wow.
He's a goat.
Yeah,
Cool
he's one of
dude.
the guys who's really known in the industry. And I did a double take, looking at YouTube, I was like, is this actually Marty O'Donnell? And it was. Because we were talking about unionization and thing like that. And he just I don't know how he clicked on us, to be honest, but he was there, which was cool. So we chatted with him briefly, not on screen, but through the chat. Anyway, that, and then we have a bunch of reviews going on. So Suicide Squad, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Banishers, Helldivers, and then Steve has a piece coming on AMD's technology and new chipsets as well. So
Cool.
may want to check that out, Steve. He's a tech writer. He has a lot of insight into that stuff. That article should be up early this week too, which would be really good. And then just a final reminder, no Bitcast next week as you're listening to this. So that is the 18th. There will be no Bitcast, which sucks. Yes, I agree. We will be back on the 25th. Dan won't be here. We will probably have a guest. Tom, come join us. You're welcome to. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
But either way, we'll probably have a guest join us. So, all right, Travis, hit us.
Yeah. On tomorrow, you can read my review of Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden, latest in the crevice crawler genre. And look forward to that. I've got the review of Skull and Bones. I think I'm publishing the review in progress on Tuesday, which means I need to get to writing that today. And then obviously my final version will come at some point in the future whenever I'm actually able to play past the available content available in the beta. I've got some stuff I can't talk about. And yeah, follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis and IGN.com for all my stuff. Love you guys. Thanks for putting up with me.
Appreciate you. Yeah, please leave a like. Please share this out, of course. Hogue, what you got?
Go Niners.
Well, the same reason that I'm not available for Bitcast next weekend is actually going to keep me off of video making this week. So if you want to support the channel and just come on by and see the videos I've already done, please feel free to do so. I'm a whole lot YouTube, but there won't be new content this week, no matter what Phil or Satya or anybody else says about Microsoft or anything else in video gaming. I will be following it from afar, but in places that are not my home. So enjoy, everybody, and thank you for staying with us this 3+ hours already.
You going to Hawaii?
Travis is like, I'll meet you there.
Yeah, he's
I'll do it. I'll paddle on over.
The funniest thing is I just do this, and I'm like, why does Travis...
I've been doing it throughout this whole episode, and you only noticed it like one time. I was like going like this, dude. One of these days, we're gonna have to color coordinate. I'll wear one sleeve that just matches your arm. Yeah,
it's good stuff. Chat, you're awesome as always. Channel members, super chats, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Obviously, as we've said many times, it helps us out a great deal. So thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. Enjoy. If you're watching the Super Bowl later, have a good rest of the day. Enjoy it. go Chi Niners.
Yeah.
That sounded racist.
Yeah.
So just throwing that out there.
I have a foot in both camps, which is you're not supposed to do, but I do. So just hope it's a
All
good
right.
game. We'll see.
I
That's
just figured
fine.
the 49ers moved to Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa! That's
Never. That's
blasphemous.
heresy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Come on.
come on.
Wow.
Stop
Come
that.
on. How dare you?
Bring it on.
Like the Bay Area hasn't lost enough sports teams.
Well, the name wouldn't make any sense, but that didn't stop the Utah Jazz.
Utah Jazz is nuts, dude. The least jazzy state in the union has Utah Jazz. Very funny.
All right. On that note, we will see you in 2 weeks. Cheers. Have a good one.
Go
Enjoy your
Chiefs.
games. Peace. There.